right, we're going to go ahead and start our meeting. Welcome, everyone. And Tim Cook, would you like to lead us in the pledge? Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Tim. Harmony, would you mind doing verification of quorum?
Yes, Director Doherty. We might have to unmute here 1 second. I do see him in attendance on Zoom. Director Van Vliet,
Present.
Director Bach. Here. Director Cook.
Here.
President Griffiths. 5 present, quorum met.
Thank you, Harmony. And we'll go on to public official comments. I see Ms. Darcy. To start with, President of Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District.
Thank you, Madam President, board members, staff, residents, and guests. I'm going to make this a drought sandwich, which means I'm going to start off with some good news and I'm going to end with some good news, but in the middle, I'm going to give you the rest of the story. So the good news is that we're very excited to welcome the new board members to our orientation on Friday. I think over the last few years that we've been able to work much better together, the Water District, the city, and the POA. Those orientations have been very helpful, so you can kind of see how we operate and the rules in which we have to abide. I also would like to invite our residents out to Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District's headquarters on Saturday, June 25th from 9 to 12. We have an open house. In addition to that splash in the summer, we have they have equipment out that kids can explore. They have demonstrations. They have information on rebates and water-wise gardening, which you might want to hear about after I finish the meat of this little comment section. But we're really encouraging people to come out. There's food, there's vendors. It's usually a lot of fun. So we normally do it in the spring, but during COVID conditions, we moved it to the summer. Recently, the governor moved from voluntary restrictions to mandatory restrictions. Our water district is going to respond. We are going to consider a resolution tomorrow in which we move into stage 3A. The one thing about water districts, their stages mean absolutely nothing to the general public. Why we have stage 3A, 3, 3B, 3C is beyond me, but that's another hurdle for me to tackle. But basically it means that we're going to restrict outdoor watering to 3 days a week, and I'm going to encourage you to do it at night because you'll have much better efficiency. We are increasing our rebates. So if you want to change your landscape out to something more California friendly, there's money for that. There's money for incentives for businesses that have what we would consider, governor's words, non-functional turf, meaning that kids aren't playing on it. You're not using it for golf or athletic. It's just ornamental in front of a building, in a median, someplace like that. It's not easy to even take care of. Sometimes it's even dangerous to maintain. We're encouraging people to take advantage of those rebates and change out that landscape to something much more drought tolerant. We are still accepting applications for new developments. I know that people are going to say, well, if I have to cut back, why are you approving new developments? We come up with a plan to manage droughts. We submit it to the state approves it, and we're working our plan. And part of that plan realizes that we are only like 35% built out, that we have got to accommodate growth. We want to be good neighbors, good stewards, and actually help our economy do the best it can under the conditions we currently have. So if everybody would just be more efficient, I'm not asking you to conserve. If there's a dire emergency, I'll come back and use that word. Just be more efficient. Open your bill. That would be step one. See how much you're using and try and stay in budget. I'm really advocating within our board not to implement a drought surcharge, which means everybody gets a penalty fee every month just because there's a drought. I think if you've worked hard and invested in your landscape and you're as efficient as you possibly can and you work within the budget we've given you, I don't think we should penalize you. But that's something I'm advocating for. I'm one vote, but I think at least I have some board members currently that are reasonable. So I look forward to that. I will know more next month. What we don't know is what the 25% reduction is from. what our baseline is. Is it from last June? Is it from last March? Is it from, last December? We're hoping it's not from a very wet month because we've done really well as a region. So if it's wet, there's not as much water demand. So cutting 25% from that time period could be very difficult. So we are working with our advocates in Sacramento. Our staff is up there every week, basically pleading our case. Let us use our plan. Let us manage what we have. And I'm just going to ask again, I'm so glad division number 1 is number 1. I just don't want to be number 1 on the worst list. I'll take number 2. I'm perfectly happy with that. So, and if people have questions, this leads to the happy part at the end here. The mayor and I know some of the POA board members here were having conversation at the country club on June 22nd from 6 to 7:30. We'll provide appetizers. If you have questions, concerns, if you don't understand your bill, and there's nothing to be ashamed in that, it's written in engineer speak, I'm happy to translate it or get someone that can help you. So unless you have any other questions, that's all I have for tonight.
I have a question.
Okay.
What about the water in Canyon Lake and the possibility
Of turning it back on?
of turning it back on?
So it would have to be pretty dire situation. Metropolitan, who we're purchasing most of our water from right now, would come back and tell us that they cannot meet our needs before we would have to turn the water plant on. I want to assure people, though, that if we had to turn the water plant on, the water's not unsafe, okay? The legislature of California, in their infinite wisdom, picked out a number out of the air and said, this is the level of PFAS you're allowed in the water. There's no science to back that number up, and we have to comply to that. If we have to turn it on, you're not in any danger. There's nothing harmful. We're well within the US EPA mandates that have been backed by science. So I feel comfortable in serving that to our public, but that's the last result. I've heard, people say, you're going to drain the lake. Nope. Not planning on draining the lake anytime soon. The plan still is that it will be at very high levels for the next 3 years until we finish the upgrades to our water treatment plant. And at that point, we hope to have an alternate arrangement with Metropolitan to bring some raw water in through the East Bay to supplement the level. So, but that's a great question, President Griffiths. Thank you.
Hey, Darcy, along those lines, can you also comment, give us a reference in terms of the amount of PFOS or PFOA that's in the water versus what's kind of in the air and in the environment we breathe?
That's a great question, Director Van Vliet. In the air, it's like 8 times as much PFOS and PFOA just floating around than we're allowed to have in a drinking water standard. And that comes from usually outgassing from your carpet, Teflon, anything that's waterproof, your shampoo, your face scrubber, your makeup, just about everything has PFAS or PFOA in it. So as that releases into the environment, it's in the air, it's in the carpeting, it's everywhere. So to pick this random number in drinking water, and I totally understand you ingest drinking water, you're exposed to drinking over a much longer period of time than other things, but the air pretty much trumps that. So.
That new car smell that we all love isn't good for us, you're saying?
I'm sorry?
The new car smell, when you get a new car?
Oh, yes. Well, I'm not going to comment on that because it still smells good.
Thank you so much
Thank
for being
you. Have
here.
a good
Greatly
evening.
appreciate your insight. And next we have our City Council member, Dale Welty. Thank you for being here, Dale.
You have to press the button here. That's kind of a new thing. So anyway, congratulations to the new board members. It's great to see you on board, and we're very excited about what your future here. So thank you. A couple things from the city. One of the big things is the town center specific plan had a public hearing on last Wednesday. So it's coming forward to the final vote at the next meeting. So we're kind of excited. I don't see anything being changed immediately, or maybe not even the next 5 or 10 years, but it does give us an opportunity that when we make changes to the town center, that it becomes a much more modern center, a more efficient center, and provides really kind of a better facility for our city. The great news on our side is that we just passed our budget, and it looks like we're going to have a $400,000 surplus. I know the POA doesn't live like that. It's a little different world. But that being said, after years of dipping into the reserves where we're now in a positive sense, and much of that work was done before I got there. I'd like to say I did that, but really it wasn't me. It was the people on the council that came before me. So just congratulations to them. We also passed an MOU with our side of the MOU with Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District. We're going to put together a program where we're going to start doing inspections on some of the improvements on the docks and the other things on the encroachment. So you'll probably hear more specifics about that in the future. But the conversation's going into effect. So we're looking forward to doing something considering the safety of our docks. And the last thing is that the chamber and the city have partnered together. I'm not exactly sure what they call it now, but it's basically kind of Canyon Lake Bucks, where you can go down and you can turn in your $50 and get a $75 card. It's part of the COVID relief fund. It's designed to give our local businesses who suffered so greatly during the COVID period to get a little stimulus. So if you're at all thinking about using some of our businesses, go on up and get the card and let's get some money flowing into our local people. If you're a business, if you haven't signed up for it, it's pretty simple. I don't believe there's a fee. You just got to go down and sign on in. So again, you know, the country club, the lodge, the restaurants across the street, all could use your business. So please be aware of that. That's all I have. I think the caps. Oh, are you taking the car? Are you taking the cards?
You know, you mentioned almost like 25%. Is there a cap? Like
I think it's $100 per person, but you can line you and your. I'm just kidding. You line your 12 children up, and I'll go get one.
Hey,
so there's a cap, and it's a reasonable cap. So you know, not all the money goes to one person. So okay. Anything else? All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dale. Appreciate it. And no presentations, right? Just going down the list.
Correct.
Correct. Announcements. All right, we're going to move to the consent agenda. Directors, is there anything that you would like to pull from the consent agenda and put onto our regular agenda for discussion?
Yeah, I would like to request that we remove items E through J, just to allow for the public to give them the opportunity to comment if they wish on those items for dialogue.
Any other directors want to pull items from the consent agenda? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
Sorry, let me pull up Zoom so I can see Greg 1 moment here. All right. He is raising his hand. All in favor, motion carried.
All right, we're going to proceed, and a couple things. If you have any comments, please fill out the comment card and give it to Harmony. You'll have 3 minutes. And I do have a timer, and I'll be I'll be fair with the timer, and when it hits 3 minutes, we go on to the next person. I hate to say strict, that sounds bad. And then for anyone who's new here, I just want you to understand how these items move, that in order for us to have a discussion, the board there has to be a first and a second to even discuss it. So just know we're not voting right away. I know that's happened in the past where people got upset thinking that we're voting right away. We're just opening up for discussion. If there's not a first or a second, we don't even talk about it. All right, so we'll move on. So we're going to start with letter number E on the consent agenda. Approval to revise rule GR 5.2A, electric pedal assist bicycles by Corey.
Okay, good evening. So before the board tonight is an approval for GR 5.2A as it relates to electric devices. The background on this proposed rule is, as the popularity of personal electric devices has increased, there became a need for the rules to be updated to identify what is and is not acceptable to ride within the community. The Rules Committee met in February 2022 to discuss this issue and is recommending that we expand our existing rule for electric pedal assist bicycles to cover other personal electric devices. The proposed change would have the following impact. Number one, it would clarify that personal electric devices such as stand-up scooters, skateboards, and wheeled boards are acceptable. Number two, it would establish a speed limit of 20 miles per hour for all devices. And number three, it would establish an electric motor maximum wattage of 750 watts or less. It is important to clarify that an electric motorized sit-down scooter, such as a moped or a Vespa, would not fall under this rule and could not be used within the community. If we scroll down, the revised rule would read GR 5.2A, personal electric devices. Electric bicycles and other personal electric devices, such as electric stand-up scooters, skateboards, and wheelboards, are permitted to be used within the community so long as the following provisions are followed. The bicycle is equipped with pedals and pedal assist functionality. All scooters and boards must have a floorboard to stand on when riding, cannot exceed 20 miles per hour, and an electric motor 750 watts or less.
Thank you, Corey. Is there a motion to approve? Second?
Second?
Any member comments on this topic?
No.
Any directors' comments?
Just one comment I had. So this basically brings these devices in line with what our same rules are for golf cart speeds and so forth, right? They're all consistent?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Any other comments?
So if I understand correctly, this rule will clarify, yeah, there is an echo in the room, will clarify and expand. I mean, obviously, at this point, people use skateboards and things like that, and even, razor boards or whatever they call them. And this will clarify the use, but control the use, which to now has been sort of a grayer area.
Yes, exactly. We did have a member who was stopped who was riding an electric stand-up scooter, and that was one issue that was brought up, that it wasn't clear to community patrol if that could be used or not. So this rule clarifies that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the more we encounter these innovations, the more we have to ironically catch up to it. I mean, it's a pun, but we're kind of chasing after these things. And if anyone knows anyone who's had a spill or anything from an electric or come in contact one, I mean, it can be pretty serious these days. And people are definitely cruising, maybe not in Canyon Lake, but I've seen people going much faster than 20 miles an hour on the electric bikes. And then I know one person who got really injured doing it. Speaking of that, unrelated to this, but I'll use this as a PSA, please, what am I going to say? Wear a helmet. But bottom line is, under 18, it's a California law, POA rule, and you will lose your house if someone is not wearing a helmet. Okay? If they get injured. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've seen, I mean, I recently saw kids with the bike, with the helmet on the steering wheel, and then we saw someone with their parents driving and none of them had a helmet. I mean, we can't be their parents, but we have to, as a POA, we have to take a hard stand on this, and it's really critical. So that's my little.
Thank you, Brian. Any other comments from the directors? All right, can I have a vote, please? All in favor of approving, I just took off my glasses, GR 5.2A? Say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
Thank you, Harmony. All right, we're going to move on to letter F on the agenda, revised rule LM 9.11, safe distance required for towing.
Yes, okay, so this is a second iteration of this rule proposal. The background is at the December 2021 board meeting, during discussion regarding boat weight, a comment was made that excessive wakes are being caused by boaters who are slowly cruising the lake while the boat is plowing. Plowing is generally described as a boat with a raised bow in which the hull is moving through the water instead of being on top of the water, creating a large wake. After discussing this topic with our Marine Patrol captain, it was determined that a rule revision was appropriate. The Rules Committee met in January 2022 and recommended the proposed language changes. The impact of the changes are as follows. Number one, it removes reference to specific types/brands of water sports devices. Number two, it requires all boats on the main lake to be either at idle or on plane. And number three, it changes the fine schedule from $50 per occurrence to an increasing progressive fine for repeat violations. During the April 2022 board meeting, a concern was raised regarding children learning to ride and the fact that a boat may not be on plane as they are towed at slower speeds. The Rules Committee met again to discuss this issue and is recommending that consideration for all people learning to ride be written into the rule for Marine Patrol to use at their discretion. For example, if activity on the main lake was minimal, Marine Patrol would allow a beginner to be towed at a slow speed and not require the boat to be on plane. The revised rule would read LM 9.11, safe distance required for towing. All boats towing riders on any type of water sports device shall stay within 100 feet of the center buoy lines unless boating safety dictates otherwise. All boats on the main lake, towing or not, must be on plane or at idle. No plowing allowed. Consideration will be given to individuals learning to participate in water sports.
Thank you, Corey. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion?
Is there a second? Any comments from the members?
No.
No comments? Discussion with the board? All right, no discussions. We'll go ahead and move to the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
All right, thank you. You're getting the little hand over there from Greg?
Yeah.
It's working? Okay, excellent.
I couldn't hear him.
I know. That could have been bad, huh? So we're going to move on to letter G, 28-day reading. New rule, GR 2.0, guest use of common area and amenities. Corey, you're up again.
Yeah, so this is, like you said, a 28-day reading. Several members of the community have raised concerns regarding guest use of common areas and amenities without an association member being present. Specifically, concerns include guests driving boats, using the tennis courts, and picnicking at the parks and beaches. Currently, association rules only require a member to be present with a guest when using the swimming pool or while fishing the lake. At the March and May 2022 meetings, the Rules Committee met to discuss this issue and concluded that there are too many circumstances in which a resident may not be able to accompany their guests within the common areas. For example, a friend is dog sitting and wants to take the dog out to exercise, or a resident's grandchildren want to go play at the park. The committee agreed that residents should be encouraged to be with their guests within the common areas. However, if they are unable to do so and the guest violates an existing major/serious rule, an additional fine is appropriate. So the proposed rule reads, guest 2.0, guest usage of common areas/amenities. Members are encouraged to accompany their guests throughout the community at all times. Should a guest violate any of the below mentioned existing CLPOA rules in the member's absence, an additional fine will be incurred. This fine will increase on major summer holidays, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day. Rules included in this additional assessment will be the following: GR 2.4, zero tolerance for physical abuse; GR 2.7, fireworks restrictions; GR 2.9, no malicious mischief; GR 2.17, no fighting permitted; GR 2.18, A, B, and C, and those are no noxious and/or offensive conduct, unreasonably loud noise, aggravated nuisance, unreasonably loud noise with aggravating circumstances, negative impact on others, and noxious and/or offensive conduct by residents and/or their guests. The proposed fine amount is $300. On the holiday, it's proposed that it goes to $750.
Thank you, Corey. So this is a fine in addition to the fine that would be levied against the member for inviting the guest in for this, let's say it's lighting off fireworks, whatever the firework fine is in Canyon Lake, and I know the city will probably be after you as well. There will be an additional $300 fine or more depending on when you do it. Are there any member comments on this?
No.
All right, comments from the board? Nope. Oh. Harmony, Joe's raising his hand. Is there a comment for?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that, but if you have a comment, come on up.
Well, this is a little different, but Joe Comation, 3716-124. Congratulations to the two new board members. Greg, wherever you are, I hope you can. Oh my gosh. Sorry, my grandson just decided to call me. I know we talked about this last month in the May meeting, and we came up with some ideas about being more specific with the penalties and the subjects, and the Rules Committee did a good job coming up with that. I don't believe they changed the fine, because I think we also talked about the fine being pretty excessive, and especially on the holiday, it's more than doubling. So I'd like the board to consider maybe being a little more realistic with the fines. I also would like the board to consider, you've identified the holidays, but you haven't identified holiday weekends. And the crowds that are out here Friday through Monday. And 4th of July falls on any day of the week, but the others fall on a 3-day weekend. So it's something that you might want to look at and address before we advance this any further. That's all I have. Thank you.
Hey, Joe, can I ask
Thank
you a
you, Joe.
question? You said,
Sure.
I want to make sure I understand your request. You said to have the board look at the fines. Are you saying, do you believe they're too low or too high?
I believe they're pretty high for violation. This isn't going to be the type of violation where they're going to get a warning and then the fine. They're going to get hit with the fine. So $750 for somebody, gets involved in a fight, and regardless of who's at fault, he's going to get hit with $750 on 4th of July. It's kind of tough. I mean, and I'm totally in favor of the thought and the idea behind this rule. I just, don't want to be too punitive to the membership. Oh, anything else?
Mm-hmm.
Nick?
Sounds good.
Any other member comments?
No, I don't think so.
All right, so we're going to move to board comments.
If I may?
Now, I believe the intent, I gotta say, I want to start with what's the intent of this rule, right? There's enforcement and there's intent. I believe the intent of the rule is to really discourage a lot of the egregious behavior that we've been seeing, particularly on holiday weekends. I think that's a very good comment. And I think a range of fines have been considered from anywhere from a few $100s to, I've even heard $1,000 or so for a major incident. I know it's a variable based on something, but I want to get to what the intent. Can maybe someone on one of the other board members go to what the intent behind this was meant to be?
Well, one of the things I want to point out too with this rule, and then we'll get to intent, is in the member's absence. It's not that we want members to fight along with their guests, but if the member is not there, what happens often, especially during holiday times, is their friends want to come in and hang out at our beach. Oh, come on down. I'm out of town. You can come out and hang out at the beach all day long. And then they get into trouble. So it's imposing an additional fine on that to try to dissuade members from just inviting anyone in, or they just met a really cool person at the gym and now they're inside the gate. That can happen. Any other thoughts from the board as the reasons behind that?
No, I would dovetail with that. I think the interesting, for many people who just moved in, I've met so many people who moved in the last 2 years, and they'll say, why do we need this? Well, you hadn't had July 4th pre-COVID. And July 4th over there used to be, I mean, it's really something short of wearing a hard hat, it had been. We just talked about, number of security things over the years, and, things like that. And it's gotten better over the last couple of years. Memorial Day was a good example, or Fiesta Day, that, things really almost benign. But that being said, never assume. And I think this is the concept, which is, and I know for a fact from those days, a number of people who were arrested, accosted, did not live here. They were tangentially guests because people had 20 and 30 kids, friends, 18, and they weren't kids. They were, 20-year-olds with nothing else desire other than to create havoc. And so I think that's the purpose of this. And frankly, too often our parents and, members will bury their head in the sand, so to speak, say, I didn't know it was, somebody, and, you come to live here, you choose to live here, you sign a contract, and one of those contract items is decorum, behavior, not just for yourself, but for your guests. Now, the dollar amount is interesting to hear it's too much. You have to send a message, and some people, the message, I literally have heard people say, it's just $100, I'll pay it. Some other examples, not this. The Rules Committee, if you don't know, because some people are new to the community, new to these meetings, is a group of you. It literally is arguably one of the better cross sections, no offense to other committees, but we really focused on people from walks of life, ages, different things, law enforcement background, water background, young, old. And in the end, they were the ones who drafted and redrafted this and all these others, but in particular, these things. So I wouldn't say we give them absolute, but we definitely want to give credence to a group as opposed to a couple of board members, in fact, changing board members of saying, oh, let's just throw $750 on the Barbie. Joe, you're going to have to behave yourself and your guests, and I know you're worried about that. But, we'll work it out. That being said, Corey, is there anything else from your end before we, or any other, well, I guess board members, obviously, but. Sorry.
I actually do agree with Joe on 2 points. I think it reads, this fine will be increased on major summer holidays. It should include summer holiday weekends or the extent of the holiday, however you want to word it. And I actually do agree with him about the fine thing. I think we could drop it to holidays being 500, and it would still send a pretty stiff message. But because this is also on top of they'll be fined twice, this and the other GR codes there. So just an opinion, but.
Are you proposing to
Modify it?
modify it?
Yes.
And then with that, and I'd love to hear your comments too, because sometimes a holiday is on a Wednesday. Let's say 4th of July is on a Wednesday, so we can't say holiday weekends. So would we say the day before and the day after the holiday to have it over a 3-day span? What makes sense? I don't know.
Well, just to include the holiday. Well, let me see. Yeah, the holiday itself and when they fall on weekends to include the weekend.
So you want to adjust it to holiday weekends? Holiday/holiday weekends?
Holiday weekends, yes.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to change the 28-day read to the fine amount of $300 and then reducing it instead of $750 to $500 on holiday and holiday weekends. Is there a motion to change the 28-day read?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor of adjusting the 28-day read, the fine amount, and then also to include holiday weekends? All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We got a hand raised by Greg?
5 in favor, motion carried.
Okay, so now we're going to look at approving the actual adjusted rule, the 28-day read. So do I have a motion to approve the revised?
I believe you just approved it as
Oh,
revised.
okay. I didn't know if we had to approve the revision or.
That we should be good.
I'm a work in progress. All right. Thank you, Harmony. We will now move on to Actually, before we do, I want to make one more comment about that. Some of the, a big concern for everyone, including myself, has been crime. And it was awful when we were hearing about people, kids kicking in doors. And one of those kids that was doing was an invited guest. And one of those things that I'm hoping this rule will do, well, even when parents are letting their kids have guests over, that maybe they know where they are and what they're doing. So when something happens like this, it might be a little bit more sting. So parents are going to be more mindful of what their kids may or may not be doing.
Actually, you made a good point, even though we voted on it. Even if there's a definitional issue of, Your Honor, is it a holiday the day before, the day after, you still have a pretty hefty fine regardless. And so I think that 300, 500 for the door kicker, for example, is still pretty substantial. Hopefully there's criminal as well.
All right, we're going to move on to letter H, which is a 28-day reading. Revised fine EC 2.20, riding permitted in designated areas only. Corey.
Yes, so the background on this proposal is that the Rules and Regulations Committee met in May to discuss the fine amount associated with riding horses in designated areas only. After discussion, the committee is recommending that the fine amount be increased and made progressive for additional offenses. So if we scroll down, currently the rule reads, horses may be ridden in the equestrian center and on designated equestrian trails only. Horses are not permitted on the streets or private property except in the tract known as the Rancho Estates. The proposal is to change the fine to $100 for a first offense, $150 for a second offense, $200 for a third offense, and make it progressive thereafter.
Thank you, Corey. Any comments by the members?
No.
All right. Any comments from the directors? Do I have a motion to approve the 28-day reading of Rule EC 2.20?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. I guess I should have done that before I asked for members' comments and everyone's comments. All right, I'm backwards. No one has any comments, right?
No.
All right, let's go ahead and go with a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 5 in favor, motion carried.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Corey. Going right down the list, letter I, 28-day reading, new rules for the pump track. Corey.
Yes, so in anticipation of the Sierra Park North pump track opening towards the end of summer, the Rules and Regulations Committee began researching local pump tracks to develop a set of rules. The proposed rules were reviewed by the association's insurance carrier and slightly modified based on the feedback. Once the pump track is open, members will need to complete a waiver at the association's office prior to use. That was an insurance requirement. Once the waiver is complete, the member will be issued a decal or decals for his or her device, and their POA card will be activated, which will be used to open the gate. The proposed set of rules read, pump track, PT 1.0, all riders must complete a waiver prior to using the pump track. Waivers are available at the association office. 1.1, all pump track riders must wear a helmet with a fastened safety strap and closed-toe shoes. No sandals allowed at all times. Protective gear on the rider, for example, elbow pads, knee pads, and gloves, and the bike, for example, the crossbar, handlebar, and gooseneck pads are strongly recommended. 1.2, pegs are not allowed. Please remove from the device prior to use of the pump track. 1.3, children under 12 years of age must be accompanied by an adult 18 or older. Non-riders shall not enter the pump track except to accompany an underage child. 1.4, pump track is for non-motorized personal devices only. Any other uses are not permitted. Ride-on vehicles with 3 or more wheels, such as carts, wagons, tricycles, bikes with training wheels, strollers, etc., are not permitted. No movable obstacles or outside materials, for example, ramps/jumps, are allowed. 1.5, please ride safely and responsibly. No participant may enter the pump track unless safe to do so. Be respectful of all riders. 1.6, use of the pump track outside of posted hours is prohibited. 1.7, use of profanity, abusive language, violence, and/or weapons is strictly prohibited. 1.8, riding is not permitted when surfaces are wet, icy, or slippery. 1.9, no alcohol, illegal drugs, smoking, glass containers, open fires, food or drinks are permitted. Use of the pump track is not permitted while being under the influence of alcohol or illegal drugs. 1.10, no animals are allowed in the pump track area. And 1.11, use of the pump track is at your own risk.
Thank you, Corey. Appreciate that. One thing I'll say about before we go on, the need to have everyone sign a waiver, that's to protect the members, because if anyone falls on that pump track and has not signed that waiver, they're going to sue the deepest pockets, and the deepest pockets are you via the POA. So not only does the insurance company require it, but we certainly need to have it in order to protect our members and not have to do any type of special assessment, because now we need to pay a $5 million judgment. So that's always a concern from the risk perspective. So with that, do I have a motion to approve all of these rules? I won't list them all. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Do I have a motion to discuss? Goodness. See, I'm brand new, people.
I'll make the motion to discuss.
Do I have a second? Second? All right, now we go on. Sorry about that.
So in our discussion, if we need to amend something, that's where we discuss it.
This is 28-day read, so
No,
yes.
I amend.
So are there any member comments about
Yes,
the
we have-
28-day reading?
Yes, we have two. The first is Sheena Conrad.
What about that?
Can you state your name and track and lot?
It's a
Say it again.
mistake.
I'm Sheena. This is my first time speaking, as we just bought our house and we finally get to come to these. So, okay, I just thought I'd come and just ramble off some concerns, but I didn't actually know that part yet. So I actually feel a little bit more relieved knowing how tight the ship is on the pump track. But the first thing that stood out to me when the pump track was being built is where it was being built at, which we are very excited to have the pump track. There's nothing against that. It's just, there was a child that passed away literally across the street. You could just walk out of the pump track and see the cross right there. It's literally right there. I do know from post and things, I don't know much about the accident, but I do know it was an accident. It wasn't anybody's fault. It wasn't a drunk driver or distracted or anything. It was just an accident for what I remember. Anyway, I just am worried now that, you know, we want to let our kids go to the pump track, but now I'll reread, and I believe it says an adult needs to be there, which is great. I like that. But I was just maybe hoping we could do some sort of signage or something on the road, stop sign or something, only because it's at a curve, and a blind curve. And I know that's a little bit of a highway. A lot of people use it to get to the other side of Canyon Lake, and they want to go home. And then there's also distracted drivers. And then I also have a friend who moved on that street. I believe it's Vacation. They had their car got hit every other month I don't know, maybe it was just an accident, a distraction, or a drunk, but their car kept getting hit, and they were a very loved family, and they moved. So I would say that added to it, plus California. Anyway, yeah, so I don't know. I know that someone said there might be signage. A distracted person's not going to look at a sign. They're not going to see kids, or, you know, they need more flashing. But I'm not really sure. I'm not an expert at the design and how the kids are going to exit the pump track. They're going to exit, but they're not going to have a sidewalk for that turn to, like, okay, I'm going to go. There's a street. So I'm just want to put it up there. And if I'm, I just thought I'd come and mention it. So that's it.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. That's something that's actually being looked at by our facility planning committee. I know we're not supposed to necessarily comment back, But I just wanted to assure everyone that they are looking at that, because that's important for all of us here as well. And Eric can probably later, when you talk about everything, talk a little bit more about that. So there's going to be flashing lights and definitely, and hopefully people will pay attention.
Yeah, it's the kids.
It's a tough spot right there.
Yeah.
So we're going to need kids and people, maybe even signage as people are exiting out to make sure they remind them to look both ways. So I appreciate your comments.
And also, I'll add pump bikes. I believe we've had one, but I don't know as kids get older if it's the same thing. There's no brakes. It's no pedals. They like do the motion, or some of them have it where there's no brakes. It's a pump bike. I could be wrong, but we use all different type of bikes. But I know my kid, which they just left, they had trained on a little bike with no pedals or brakes. So there's that. I don't know. So but the rule, now that you guys have all this stuff dialed in, maybe it'll be easier just, with an adult and stuff like that. But also I'll add, I'm not sure what time it'll close. Maybe it's up there. But if it's dark, I notice a lot of kids going up my street on electric. I'll also just throw this in for just because a lot of kids are on those electric bikes now, which they're having a great time, but they don't have lights on them. And I'm like, you're jamming up my street. Oh, okay. Anyway, they're jamming up.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
for
you
your
too.
comments. I
Do
appreciate
I
you.
stop this thing?
Just hit the red button. All right, thank you. There's another member comment?
Yes,
Lisa?
one more, no name, 37782. Oh, Marha, come on up.
Marha Kidd, 3778201. I wasn't really going to speak, but I wanted to say welcome, board. Good to see you. Thanks for making sure the pump track got done. It's been a 5-year project. Over those 5 years, I remember when we first started this, the kids were indoors on their computers, and it was a way to get them out of the house. But then e-bikes came out. And I mean, they have their issues also. So even though we have issues with the pump track, maybe, so do the e-bikes. But the kids are outside, they're enjoying, they're playing pickleball, they're, just out and about. So I think if we do this right, it's a wonderful addition for the community. We have a pump track page. I'll put it out there for people to join on now that we're actually getting it. I'm hoping, I'm not a pump tracker really, but I was behind the project, that we get the families involved and they can kind of like all the other amenities, they go show themselves down there and they make sure it runs right and they kind of keep an eye on it. They kind of volunteer and they kind of help. So with that, I have a couple questions. I put it out on social network today that we were doing this tonight. So I will get an email to the board, and I've asked them to email the board with their questions. What comes up, are there lights? Are there going to be lights? And what time does the track close? Anybody can answer? Are there lights?
There will be lights, and the pump track will close when the park closes, which is 10 in the summer and 8 in the winter.
Okay, so when they talk about a gate card, do they talk just to the pump track or the whole park?
To the pump track.
To the pump track. Okay, so that's what your idea is, that you're going to have a card. So the questions that have been posed so far is, a family might have multiple bikes, skate, this, that. So about that decal that you get from the POA, are you going to give multiple decals? That's one question. Because then, they go in, sign a waiver, then they're going to be on file. You give them decals, they're going to decal all their stuff. Then that means they've got a waiver out there. But then also, we have friends. People have friends, they have cousins, they have visitors. So after hours, weekends, and you just want to have a guest, we should have the right to have our guests on our amenities. So now what? You need a waiver for that kid signed by its parent or the household or both. is there some way, I've been thinking about this a lot, Corey. You know how we get that thing that says, oh, you called in somebody through the gate? Is there some way to maybe do it online that we can do waivers? Oh, sorry. And then get that to our phones that we can show them we had got the waiver. That was my main question because of guests.
Thank you, Marha.
Okay, thank
Appreciate
you
it, and
for
look forward to the
listening.
email too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And that's one thing just to point out, if you post things to social media, we may or may not see it. Some people are not on it as often as others or on it at all. I even tried searching for something that a board member told me about and I couldn't even find it. So please email the board always if you have any comments, suggestions, concerns. Any other member comments?
We don't have a member card.
You have to fill out a member. Can you fill one out real quick?
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yep. I'll have them do it afterward if you'd like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just fill one out afterwards? Okay. Short and sweet? Yes. Oh, there you go. Who are you,
Chuck
sir?
Marino. Let's see, 3846330. It sounds like you've had plenty of thought and there's lots of rules for this pump track. I think that's a great thing. Good job, Corey, and whatever team you got going on there. But have you guys thought about the backside of this? And what I'm talking about is, so now we've got this pump track. Our patrol seems to be a little, shorthanded at times. I get quite a few non-answered calls at Bluebird and some delays. Have we thought about adding any patrol? Because this is a huge amenity, and it almost sounds like you're going to have somebody that's going to staff that. It sounds like it almost. You're going to get to that point. But I don't want to tie this up in a whole big discussion. Just something to think about, please, and thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate that. Any member comments?
Yeah, I'd like to make a couple of comments. First of all, I do want to commend both the Rules Committee and the staff that worked this. I know you not only discussed it here, but you went and looked at other cities that have other similar facilities to look at what their rules are. You've been working with the insurance carrier, and I think you took a good stab at doing this. I would propose one minor adjustment, and that is in PT 10 that says that waivers will be available at the association office. I believe we're also making them available online. And so we just to say or online through the association. Yes, no?
We're working
Oh,
on
we're
getting
thinking
them
about it. Okay,
online. They're not ready
I'd like to have us
yet.
consider it then, if we haven't done it yet. Sorry. Okay.
Could they be picked up at Bluebird on a weekend when they're not? Yeah.
So I don't know if you heard that. That was a really good idea. But
Sorry,
Tim was
you can hear
suggesting
me.
that we make it available at Bluebird Hall on the weekend for members if they have a guest coming in, that they could go to Bluebird Hall and sign the waiver and get a sticker.
But I think there's in the work some electronic aspect too. So we might, I don't know if we need it in the rule per se. Rules are basically, you shall do this, you shall not do this. I think it should be, the rule should be, you must complete a waiver, like where it is and when it is and all that. We
Maybe
could probably
just
even
through the
strike from this.
association. Sorry to
Um,
interrupt.
Speaking of the rule, I think it's wonderful. I will echo what Mara said. I was one of the people on Facebook 5 years ago with Kiefer, somebody, there were two people, someone with a W and someone with a K. What was it? Eric Kirker? That's what it was. And some people had experience in this and they think it's great. And I'll just say this, I thought it was great for my son, Sam, who's 19, who's in college, who's coming home this weekend, so maybe he can use it this summer, but better for my other son who's 13, and better for all of our children and young at heart, including ourselves. Again, these rules are A, from other places, and B, from the Rules Committee, our little group of the microcosm of our community, which has really done a great job. The only caveat, and this is today, you always have to look at every word, and I think I do that for kind of my day life as well. There is a hiccup, And it might be simply that we copied something from somewhere a year or 2 or 5 years, from prior. And that is by accident, I assume, and I will amend or move to amend based on this conversation. And if it's in more than one place, I'll check, but 1.9, no alcohol, illegal drugs. It needs to say something to the effect of illegal drugs and/or controlled substances. And the reason why is because we have a very interesting quagmire here, which is I could smoke my head off on marijuana and be completely under the influence beyond ability to drive and won't violate this because A, it's not alcohol, and B, it's not illegal drugs. So I think it's just a oops, and we can fix it, and I'm gonna do it tonight. That being said, I don't usually make like motions to amend and stuff, so.
Please
but
do.
Is there anything else on here other than that? The waiver, someone mentioned it's gonna be difficult for your friends. We contemplated this, we've discussed it. There's no perfect answer. The bottom line is you're gonna need a waiver. So Sam, Nate, my son, has another friend. We've done this already when you go to the places in Temecula for jumping and baseball, whatever. You have an online or offline or whatever it is, if it was, and that other family has to sign the waiver. Mara can't sign it for someone else's kid or whatever, I can't, so forth. It's just gonna be this or that, because if you allow any slippery slope, you're gonna end up on the wrong end when this ends up with, God forbid, the situation. And you always have to think, and I'm speaking for Sean and others, our lawyer, but our insurance company will obliterate us if we allow people to have, well, this time we didn't do it or that time we didn't do it. You actually sign a waiver when you go to a baseball game. When you buy a ticket, you go to a game, you get hit by a ball, unless it's something extreme, you're not gonna sue and recover. You might sue, but you won't recover. So that being said, I will make a motion, or I'll make an amendment, and I don't know, if
Motion
we
to
need comments
amend.
or whatever.
Yeah, a
So
motion to amend.
it's where it says no alcohol,
PT 1.9.
illegal drugs, comma, controlled substances. And what I Googled was under federal law, marijuana and other substances are controlled substances. And, if someone's going to debate on this, I don't know. But bottom line is, right now, you literally could say, I wasn't doing an illegal drug and I wasn't under alcohol. I was just completely obliterated marijuana. No big deal. So I think in that sentence and the other sentence, which is under the influence of alcohol, illegal drugs, or other or controlled substances, okay? And maybe Sean, if you can help us, make that cleaner. Thank you. Put you on the spot there.
All right, is there a second?
Well, if I'm gonna amend, I guess we could take off the word that says waivers are available to the association of officers. Basically, waivers will be provided by the association, through the association. Thank you. Waivers will be provided through the association. So it doesn't matter if we might come up with something where you can do it through your eyeballs. I don't know, someday, somehow, technology. So those are my amendments. Anyone?
And then it looks like there's a member comment.
I have a comment.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead, since I did it for Chuck, I got to, be fair to everyone. So hold on for one moment. I mean, you can be right there. Freeze. We have a motion right now by Brian. Is there a second to amend those two rules?
Second.
Second. Now, can we approve?
So you're calling for a vote of the amendment. Now you have a first and a second.
Do you have any comments about that before? Okay. All right, so we're just gonna, if there's no other comments, we're gonna look to approve the amended for PT 1.0, which we're just changing some language, and then PT 1.9, where we're gonna add, it's going to say influence of alcohol, comma, illegal drugs, comma, or controlled substances. Right? All in favor, approving just those two right now? Say aye.
The pump track is not permitted while being under the influence of alcohol or illegal drugs.
Yeah, I
to
said that.
Include controlled substances.
It would
as well.
match.
Yeah. Thank you, Sean. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
Okay. And Tim had a comment. I'm going to let Tim speak first. Art?
Just on 1.1, to verify all pump track riders. It's not just anybody under 18 has to wear a helmet and protective gear. It's all riders. Just reaffirming that.
So let me ask you this, Tim. Do you think we need to say all pump track riders, comma, regardless of age, comma, to emphasize, or is to help people here, or all is all? Okay. No ambiguity? Okay. Helmet only. Correct. Yep. Always recommended. All right. And any other comments from the directors before I go back to a member? All right. And Mr. Art, and then afterwards, can you fill out a form too? Thank you.
Arch Femister 3719315. First, because that air conditioning in the back is really, really loud. You can't, it's very, very hard to hear what you're saying unless you're sitting here. So so we're just sitting in the back there. We didn't want to talk over you people. I know you can't answer questions, so I'm just throwing this out as a thought. We're just trying to follow the flow here. So a member is going to go to the pump track. They sign the liability. They get their card updated so they can scan their way to get inside. Yes, okay. Now they have a pump track party, and that's fine. Hey, we got a great pump track. I'm going to invite 15 of my friends over. Okay, let's have a pump track party. I get 15 friends. They signed the liability or they didn't. How do you know that? Because if they don't sign that, you know, I mean, it's one thing for a member to say, well, he fell down, but hey, we're all one community. I'm not going to sue my own community. People outside are going to go, oh yeah, I'm suing them. So that, I know you can't answer the question. It's just something to throw out to you though. How do we ensure the individual kids that are coming to that party have signed that form? That's just a question. And I don't know, and I know you're not supposed to be able to respond, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. It's more of a.
I can answer that.
Okay.
So all of this is still fluid and really kind of depends on who the ultimate insurance carrier is and any input they have. It's constantly changing. We're working on the card readers right now. One iteration that's in the works at the moment is right now when you register your boat here, you have to go online and take a boating safety test. In exchange for that and a safety inspection on your boat, you get a sticker for your boat.
Right.
More than likely, when you sign the waiver and any other requirements that develop between now and when the park opens, you're going to have a sticker on your bike. And so community patrol or anybody else at a distance can walk up to the pump track, and if there's a bike in there, a person in there that doesn't have this identifying mark, you don't belong here.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, great idea.
Thank you.
See, I knew
was
that.
mine.
I actually knew that, but I just wanted you to be able to say to show how much you thought through this. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Art. Any other comments from the directors? All right.
No.
So I will call for a vote to approve all the rules except the two that we've already approved that will be amended. All in favor for approving the pump track rules? Yeah, well, we already did it, but yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5 in favor, motion carried.
The way you were looking at me, Harmony, I'm like, oh, I'm messing up again. Thank you, Harmony. I think that was it.
I showed.
Oh, the other one
Jay.
is Jay, the other one that wanted was pulled off. Thank you. So 28-day reading, revised rule GC 3.8, replace divots, rake bunkers, and repair ball marks as needed. Corey.
Yes, so the background on this proposal is that the Greens Committee met on May 12th to discuss the issue of divots not being filled by golfers on the golf course. The committee is recommending the proposed rule change as many of the golf carts used on the golf course by homeowners do not have sand bottles. Consequently, they are not able to fill their divots with sand. The sand protects the exposed roots from the elements, allowing the grass to regrow in a few days. A divot, if not repaired, which is filled with sand, creates an indentation causing uneven surfaces all over the fairway. The Tuesday work group has a standing crew that fills as many divots on the tees and in the fairways as time will allow every Tuesday. That's a volunteer group here. About 70 golfers organized by the TWG have had 2 standing parties on Maintenance Monday so far in 2022. They were able to complete all 18 holes and fill approximately 2,500 plus divots. Sand bottles would be available to purchase in the pro shop at cost. The proposed rule revision would read, GR 3.8, replace divots, rake bunkers, and repair ball marks as needed. It is mandatory for all golfers using the golf course to carry refillable sand bottles. Divots on tees and fairways must be replaced, bunkers raked, and ball marks on greens repaired. This rule applies to all golfers walking or using golf carts.
Thank you, Corey. Is there a motion so we can discuss the 28-day read of the revision to Rule GC 3.8?
So moved.
Is there a second? All right, thank you. I'll start before I ask for member comments. I just want to let you know, this one, I would have been guilty of not filling, actually it wasn't my divot, I didn't make it, my husband did. But on our golf cart, we never even thought about having a sand bottle because we play golf maybe once or twice a year. So thank God we were partnered with a couple that always had sand bottles. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had sand to fill the divot. And there are people in our community who think that there's paid staff that fills all the divots, and there are not. And we really want to take care of our golf course. It's one of our precious amenities here. So we want to take good care of it. Also, this will help when teens come in and play their tournaments, and granted they're carrying, they can also carry a sound bottle. It attaches. There's a gentleman who's in his 60s who does it. So if he can do it, young people can do it. So we're just really trying to encourage people to start following this rule, and certainly by making them have a sound bottle and making certain that the starter ensures that they have it will help with this. So that's kind of the beginnings of why this is happening. So are there any member comments on this one, Harmony?
No comments.
All right. Any comments from the board? Nope. All right. All in favor of approving the revised rule GC 3.8, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
All right. And as Corey mentioned, the POA is ordering sand bottles. It's a 28-day read, but they'll have sand bottles available for sale. There will be no markup on it, so we're not here to make a profit on that. We just want people to take care of our course. All right. And I apologize, Bill. Were there any other ones pulled? Okay. Well, now we're going to go on to board action items. Yay. Okay. 7.1, approval, revised finance committee charter. Susan Dawood. Dare I say you're the one who makes sure that all the bills are paid and we always have money. She's amazing.
Good evening. We have a revision to our Finance Committee charter this evening as a proposal. A very slight revision. We are proposing just some grammatical error corrections to the document, just one enhancement on one of the bullet points on what the budgetary activities are of the Finance Committee. And finally, we'd like to request to have 2 alternate members join our committee and make that change to the charter.
Thank you, Susan. Do I have a motion, or can I get a motion to approve the revised charter?
Motion approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any member comments?
No.
All right. Any comments from the board? All right. All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I have Director Doherty against. Is that correct?
No.
I'm so sorry. He's in favor. 5 in favor, motion carried.
I was just slow.
All right, so Susan's still up there. We'll move on to Rule 7.2, Finance Committee Member Appointments.
Yes, the Finance Committee is in need of one new committee member and 2 alternate members. We're presenting tonight that we would like to have Bruce Busser, who has been functioning as an alternate, moved up to be an actual committee member.
Wonderful.
In addition to that, we'd like to appoint Dale Welty as the first alternate committee member, and we'd like to appoint William Bill Medved for the second alternate position.
Great, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the Finance Committee member appointments?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any members from the, or comment members?
No.
Comment members, member comments, and any comments from the board, concerns? No
Nope.
concerns.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? All right,
5 in favor, motion carried.
all right, moving right along. Approval, what? It's on the consent, yep. On to 7.3, approval to reinstate the Security Advisory Committee, Director Van Vliet.
I believe one of the strengths we have in our community is we have a lot of people with great experience, and we leverage those people through our committees. And I think a great example of that is our Finance Committee, where we have a number of people with good financial experience that help us create annual budgets and review options and investments and so forth to give advice and counsel to the board and the staff on what to do. And with all of the concerns that we have going on, because crime is up nationwide, and there's concerns among our community about security in general, I propose that we reinstate the security committee that we actually had probably 3 years ago. Now it was disbanded for a number of reasons, and within the new proposal, we've got some recommendations to make it a more effective committee by doing 2 things. One is we'd like to solicit members who have experience in law enforcement, facility security, security technology, in that background to give us advice and counsel on what to do. And then second of all, we will have a list, we'll create a charter and a list of specific actions where the board and the POA would like to get their recommendations leveraging their experience. So proposing that we create and reinstate that committee.
Thank you very much. Bill, is there a motion to reinstate the Security Advisory Committee?
I move that we do.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, is there any comments from the members?
Yes, we have Alyssa DeCaspris.
You may have noticed, I'm not Alyssa. But she is allowing me to speak on her behalf, actually on my behalf, but I am the primary member, so she doesn't really have much choice. Just kidding. So firstly, oh yes,
name,
yes,
track,
sorry,
and lot.
sorry. Chris Hickok, 3846-294. So firstly, I want to, thank the board here for taking on this issue and looking at reinstating this committee. I think that it really is necessary, especially with all the concerns that have been brought up, earlier and now, and we've been hearing for quite some time now. I also want to welcome our newest members and thank you for your service and commitment to this community. It's going to be welcomed. So, as I said, clearly this is an important issue, and reinstating the committee is important. I have a small concern, though. My concern follows into the recommendations, and I feel like we're focused so much on law enforcement and security, and we need to expand that focus to include safety, not only of our residents, our guests, but also our employees and everything. I've got 20 years experience in occupational health and safety. It's something I'm very committed to, and I really feel like somehow maybe making a change and making this committee more of a security and safety or safety and security advisory committee should be taken into consideration. I truly believe that safety ultimately is part of our security for everyone here. There's a reason that we all have 1 million cameras at our house. And it's not because we like cameras, okay? It's because things are happening that we're not comfortable with. At one time when my wife Alyssa first came here, one of the reasons that she came here is because this was one of the safest communities in the country, I believe, if I'm not misspeaking. The fact is that we're no longer one of the safest communities, gated communities. I mean, we're still safe, but in general, we're slipping down. And I really feel like that's something that we can bring back fairly quickly, especially with the composition of our board and with all of the members, the great members that we have in our community. And I look forward to seeing this happen. That's all I had for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Are you volunteering, Chris? You're
He might
volunteering?
he might be.
Well, you wouldn't qualify
Yeah.
based on your background.
Right now, yes, I don't have a law enforcement background.
Well, it's facilities could be.
Under the safety and security, I'm absolutely volunteering, and if I would be considered, I will absolutely be applying for this committee, because again, I think it's very important.
Yeah, if approved, we will open up volunteers to submit their applications, so.
Very nice, thank you.
Any other member comments?
No.
Comments from the board?
Sure. I mean, based on that comment, I don't know that the positive negative of expanding a committee that hasn't existed is, well, it existed, but it existed in amorphous terms a couple of years back, and it ended up kind of going this way and that way and no way. And kind of like the Rules Committee, and we grabbed a hold of that a little bit more. So this is Bill's, I'll say baby, but basically the concepts have been there for others, but Bill has brought it to a head. We appreciate that. I guess we could amend the word facilities/security/safety, and then someone like Mr. Hickok could be on the committee. But by the way, just because you fit that bill, yeah, you got the idea, not his name. There's still an interview process. And so when we did the Rules Committee, we had a half a dozen questions, we had dozens of people apply, and we had to actually say thank you, but yeah, this one, we ended up declining, and some people became alternates eventually, et cetera. So, I mean, we could slightly open that door, and, experience in facility safety, I think would satisfy that. I don't know that it's really the intent, no offense. The intent here is to look at measures all over the place that are able to better secure. Now, the word secure is a funny thing. We're not insecure. We're not in a crime-ridden place. There were 0 incidents Memorial Day, and if you go here versus where we used to live, and many of us used to live other places, you just didn't hear about it because it wasn't on Facebook, it wasn't in a group, so forth. So in the end, we need help from all sorts. So, I mean, I guess I maybe would propose that, but maybe not amend it, but just give it to your thoughts.
Yeah, I think we certainly take it under advisement. Once we form the committee, we'll open it up to volunteers and anyone who thinks they can help. Again, I outlined at least 3 areas where we're immediately looking for help, but we'll certainly open up to any members who want to help, and then we'll go through the interview process. It will come down to, we'll come up with a list of specific actions and tasks, kind of like we do with the Rules Committee. We'll ask for help in certain areas. And I think we'll probably select the people who can help us in those initial areas. But Chris, your comment is valid. We appreciate it, and we'll certainly take it under advisement.
Just to add to that, this committee, like any other, except appeals, any member can attend. So if someone applies to be on this committee and they are not officially on the committee, please know that you can always attend. I think it's great when the community participates in this. And then the other thing, just from a safety perspective and with the crime rates going up, it's really critical. If something happens and it is a crime, please call the Riverside Sheriffs. There are people who have things happen, I'm not going to bother with it. And then our community, I was at the city council meeting, and this was in May for April, and according to the reports, crime went down. So when you call and say there's a crime problem inside Canyon Lake, the sheriffs look at it and crime's gone down. He wasn't at the May meeting, he couldn't attend, so I don't know what May looked like. But until people start calling, it seems like people immediately go to Facebook, but they just don't call when there's a crime. So please, 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 just call. So, yeah, that's it on there. Any other board comments? That was my comment. All right. So all in favor of, yes?
We don't have a member comment card for Rita Benlin. Would you like to take it?
Okay. Yeah, I did it for the other ones, and just go ahead and step up. I will let everyone know things are going to change next month. But Rita, go ahead and step up, please, and then I'll have you fill out a card after. Did you want it? Did you have a comment? Oh, you already did. Oh. Okay.
I'll have her do it afterward.
Okay.
I always forget that. My name is Rita Benlin. My track is 3718, lot 57. And I actually have good news. And that's one of the things that I wanted to compliment, especially Bill that did our protection cyber threats. That was wonderful. I have been with the county for about 35 years. I'm now just a consumer with them on the criminal justice committees and such forth. And they have had, if you're aware that I did have a booth for Riverside County Mental Health Month, and also I connect the churches and so forth with that. And with that being known, I wanted to let you know, because of Riverside and the city of Canyon Lake, we have lowered the number of suicides, which is what I specialize in. And I wanted to compliment people on that. Also, I wanted to call attention for those that can. We have what we call was actually released in 2018, and it's concerning the police departments. That is I highly advise anyone that has YouTube or how you want to reach it, is the New America. And that is from Washington. It's all the updates on what's happening throughout our nation. I have a mountain of children that are in the military and so forth, so I kind of have a straight forward with them. And I wanted to, I'm excited. I gave a June to June volunteer because I specialize in my work. And I want to thank everyone for being here and doing their job. Basically, what I wanted to express is that, I'm known as Grandma Rita. There's only one thing I have a complaint about, is a little bit of graffiti that's starting to show up. I do take walks around in areas where a lot of people don't go. I'm excited about the Sierra Parks. However, with every growing city, and for those that remember me, I'm from Brooklyn, New York, so I've seen a lot of cities. And therefore, what I'm concerned with is to know that what we're doing is actually working. And I mean, when I heard the report that the suicides are going down, I was thrilled. And the year of working with the county, and I'm still on the Criminal Justice Committee, Housing Committee, and keep up with on the street, talking directly. And so I'm one of those, don't let grandma know because she'll tell. So anyway, I just wanted to thank everyone for their patience, and especially I'd love to see this again. It was very, very informed. I apologize for my lack of technology skills, but I do try to keep the right hands and left hands talking.
All right,
And
thank
that's
you.
all I have to
Thank you,
say.
Rita. Thank you. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor of reinstating the Security Advisory Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
All right, great, thank you. We're going to move on to 7.4, revised committee policy. Harmony?
Yes, so every year we have our new board directors, and we have a board orientation where they look at our policies and procedures. This year they'd like to make, they recommended 2 revisions. One would be to disband the Dredge Committee, which has been out of commission and not meeting for a while for lack of items to view. And we just reviewed the Security Advisory Committee. So we recommend the board approve the revised committee.
Is there a motion to?
Motion to approve.
Excellent. Second?
Second?
All right, any member comments with a comment card already filled out?
No.
Any director comments, board comments? Comments? Nope, no. All right, all in favor of approving the revised committee policy, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
Excellent. 7.5, revise Sanction Club and Activity Group Policy. Lynn.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So the board, again, during orientation, we reviewed several policies. The Sanction Club policy and Activities Group policy is one of the policies that was discussed. In this policy, for those that aren't aware, the Sanction Club policy designates guidelines for use of groups requesting to be recognized as a sanctioned organization with the CLPOA. This policy outlines the requirements for those groups to request approval, renewal, and benefits of being a recognized organization with the association. During our annual orientation, we reviewed this policy with the board, and there was a few modifications that have been requested. Staff updated the attached club policy and activity group policy to reflect these changes. These changes that are being proposed tonight are mostly for because of the increased use of the common area by all the members, as well as the sanctioned clubs that are utilizing these events. So I'm going to kind of go through it with a couple of changes that we have in the red lines. So the biggest changes, sorry, nobody can ever hear me, apologize. The biggest proposed changes are to kind of differentiate the two. Sanctioned clubs operate more like a nonprofit organization. Activity groups operate more like a social group. So that's kind of how they're broken down. But the changes that are being proposed tonight are, right now, sanctioned clubs have to have a minimum of 20 members to be qualified as a Canyon Lake sanctioned club. There's a recommendation that's being proposed that those 20 members minimum must be prime associate or sub-associate members at a minimum. Then the other members of the community residents could count towards the overall membership. So that's the first proposed change. The second proposed change is that currently, for many years, the minimum Canyon Lake resident requirement to be a sanctioned club membership is 60%. It's being proposed that we increase that to 75% Canyon Lake residents, 25% non-residents. And for activity groups, previously the approved minimum percentage was 40%. The proposed motion is to increase that to 60% Canyon Lake residents, 40% non-residents to make up an activity group. And then there was no other changes proposed. And again, the premise of this is that the community has grown significantly. The common areas are being utilized by 15,000 residents and all these sanctioned clubs and their guests. And so to impact that use, staff's made a recommendation to update this policy as reflected. Any questions?
Thank you, Lynn. And to give a little bit more background, there are over 11,000 residents?
There's about 15,000 and 45 plus clubs, about 15,000, I believe.
15,000
believe so.
residents inside Canyon Lake, and there, of course, there's 4,800 members. So there are tremendous benefits with being a sanctioned club, and it takes a lot of work on the activities team because they're there to help and support. If the club goes from sanctioned or is no longer sanctioned, it's not anything negative against them personally. I mean, Family Matters was a great display over the weekend with an amazing event they did for all clubs, and they are not a sanctioned club. Actually, it's a small group of individuals who put this on and other events for the community. So with that, is there a motion to approve the revised? Oh,
Motion to approve.
second? Second. All right. Any members from, any comments from the members?
No.
That we have, okay, no. And anything from the board? Any comments from the board? Nope. All right. All in favor of approving the revised sanctioned club and activity groups policy, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
5 in favor, motion. Motion carried.
Thank you. We're going to move on to action item 7.6, and that is North Lake and Jump Lagoon use policy. And this is Lynn again.
Yes, so this is actually a new policy that we've drafted. To give you a little bit of background, I know the ski clubs, Wakeboard Club, and all those ski clubs are very familiar with this, but for many years, the Canyon Lake Ski, Wakeboard, SoCal ski clubs have requested use from the POA annually, requesting to use the North Lake and Jump Lagoon areas to host their tournaments and annual events. Over the past several years, the Board of Directors has approved the annual calendar with various conditions for the sanctioned clubs. Again, going back to that sanctioned club term, you're going to hear that a lot. Requesting to host those events. Currently, the rules and regulations and the CLPOA policies do not have specific guidelines designating use of the North Lake and Jump Lagoon areas. Staff has drafted the attached policy to establish ongoing guidelines and procedures for the Canyon Lake Sanctioned Club's requests to use the North Lake and Jump Lagoon area for the club's events and tournaments. This is draft policy. And this is kind of a collaboration, just to clarify, because I'm sure people have questions, of all the years of motions that have been made by the board, by staff, and what we're proposing as a recommendation to utilize this area to accommodate all the users. Okay, here goes. So the purpose. So the North Ski and Jump Lake use policy is being established to develop guidelines for use of these areas of Canyon Lake to host annual calendar events for the Canyon Lake Property Owners Association's sanctioned clubs. Okay. While the North Lake Ski and Jump Lake areas cannot be reserved by members for private use, the CLPOA recognizes that various sanctioned clubs host annual community and special events, which requires limited use of those areas for these specific events. In addition to the request for the use of the North Ski and Jump Lake to host these events, various rules, policies, and protocols must be established to help facilitate these events. In determining the annual calendar requests, consideration of community use, and to allow for each club to host an event, the following criteria will be considered to approve the annual calendar events and not over impact the lake. So for those of you that know that this last couple of years, there's been lots and lots of discussion about the use of those two areas. Well, mostly the North Lake. The CLPOA sanctioned club and facility use policy provides allowance of the Canyon Lake sanctioned clubs, again, because these recognized groups that we just approved in this last policy that we're allowing this privilege to, because they do a lot for the community, et cetera. To request use of common area to host individual club and community events. For specific common areas, additional policies must be established to define specific use of the common area as to not impact the community and provide specific approval for use of the requested common area. The parties subject to are these Canyon Lake sanctioned clubs that are participating to host the annual sanctioned club and community events. So the policy as drafted. The CLPOA shall allow the Canyon Lake sanctioned clubs. So the difference on the last policy is the activity groups. You have to be a Canyon Lake sanctioned club to be eligible. To submit an annual calendar request, which the clubs do currently, they have been for many years, to host ski, wakeboard, and other water skiing related events and tournaments on an annual basis. Condition for approval for the request to host the annual calendar events must include the following. So right now, this is all kind of unwritten that staff asked. We're trying to solidify this in a policy. No individual club shall be scheduled from Memorial Day to Labor Day as to not impact the community use of the North and Jump Lake areas. Each club requesting use of the North and Jump Lake areas shall only be granted one event per month, as again, not to impact the community. Each club may be granted a maximum 2 consecutive day event per month. So a 1 weekend event or a 2, etc. Events may only be scheduled on the first and third weekend. This is proposed for staff. No back-to-back weekend events shall be allowed to provide availability for member use and preparation needed between events, because at times we need operations and community patrol and marine patrol to help facilitate hosting this. We need time on our end to also prepare for those weekend events. So we're asking that the board does not approve back-to-back events in that specific area. All events and tournaments scheduled in the North Ski area must be completed by 2 p.m. We implemented this recently on a couple of events. This was to accommodate use of that area for the remainder of the community after 2 p.m. so the community did not feel impacted by these club events. If more than 2 clubs request an event for a given month, A lottery shall be held to determine which clubs are approved to host that event. We're trying to find a fairness factor because we acknowledge that there's more than 2 clubs generally that might want to host an event that are a sanctioned club. All events shall recognize scheduling, all events shall require scheduling and coordination through patrol staff needed to monitor the event and traffic. The sanctioned club hosting the event shall pay the related costs for patrol staff needed, which we implemented a portion of that this year. Going forward next year, that cost would be passed on as with similar club events. The club has to pick up the extra costs for hosting those types of events. The sanctioned club hosting the specific event shall receive approval for exclusive use of the event area during the time period only. That too has been something in this particular area where there's been confusion and frustration over the years. So we're trying to clarify that. All requests for variance exceptions of specific rules and regulations must be approved by the board of directors on an annual basis. So when the club submits their request, they're also going to submit their rules variance requests. All calendar requests that meet the policy guidelines must be submitted by September 1 for review and approval on an annual basis. So that way we can have the calendar approved as close to the end of the calendar year for the club's next calendar year. That's a mouthful there. Okay, so responsible parties, the Canyon Lake sanctioned clubs that utilize the lake, this is applying to those groups, and the POA personnel that are assisting with planning. This is in addition to the rules and regulations and not just the only policy. We have multiple things that are working here, the sanctioned club policy, facility use, and then the general rules and regulations, but this is just to help define this for the board, for the clubs, and for staff. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So I'd like to request that the board approve this 28-day reading. Since it's a new policy, we wanted to, it's approval. We're putting this out there for board and member comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Is there a motion to approve the North Lake and Jump Lagoon use policy?
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
Second, it's approved for discussion, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, approved. Second.
All right, second, great. So you have a first and a second. Any member comments that have already been completed?
Yes, 3.
Excellent.
The first is John Jacobson.
Great, thank you.
How you doing? My name is John Jacobson, president of the Canyon Lake Ski Club. I just want to thank the staff for taking on the daunting task of getting this worked out. And everything here looks pretty straightforward, but I do have a couple questions regarding this. So one of them is September 1st is the approval date for the following year. And how long will it take for the activities department or whatever to get back to the clubs of whether or not they have that date?
So to clarify, each year, when we changed the policy last year, we asked clubs to submit their calendar requests beginning September 1. We're trying to have this be the submission date. It takes them a couple months to get everybody's request in because we have to put all of the POA stuff in, but we realize that this is separate because this goes to the board for approval. So the sooner that all the clubs get those requests into us, and if it meets this criteria, then we can put it to the board for approval immediately. What's happened over the years is the changes that have come through in the process, because this is kind of secondary to the annual calendar. So we're requesting, can the club submit these by September 1? If it meets all this criteria, then we could put it to the board either September or October for approval. It's just we haven't always gotten that until December or January from all the clubs requesting it. And that's kind of what's delayed it in the past.
The only reason why I asked this question is for us, we have to submit to the Western Regional Guide for our tournaments. And so if the date is unknown, whether or not we're going to actually have that date to host our event, it makes it kind of difficult because we have to submit it to the Western Regional Guide, AWSA, to be able to hold our event so it's published and people know that it's here, the date, the time, and where it's at. So that's why I asked that question.
I just put this there to match our current policy. I don't know that staff would have a preference. If there's a date that the ski clubs have to submit their requests for all your associations, maybe we could modify it to that. This was just a draft to coincide with our current policy.
Okay.
Do you guys have an annual date?
Pardon me?
Is there an annual date like August 1st? We could talk and modify that. If there's a date that you
Yeah,
guys submit.
It's hard to hear you.
Oh.
When do you need to submit your dates?
Well, we usually submit our dates the first day of that you ask for them. Is that what you're asking?
No, to the.
Oh,
you're
when
saying-
we have to
yeah,
have them in by, I think, the middle of December.
Middle of December?
Yeah,
Oh, we'll be good by then.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then the second question I had is on this new policy for each club to turn in their membership. Does that membership roster get turned into the activities department and then forwarded?
Yes, and all clubs will be getting notified about needing to submit all their membership information.
Okay.
So you'll be getting an email from the activities
Gotcha.
department.
And then the third thing is.
Oh, I'm sorry, the time went off.
Oh, I did?
Sorry.
Okay.
But please email the board any other questions that you have, and then that way we can make certain that we get back to you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The next is Patrick Rogers.
Hello, track and lot, 3720031. In reading through the rule, I'd like to, commend the Rules Committee. It's well done. And I had a couple of things I just wanted to ask. One is I'm hopeful that the clubs that are interested in using the back ski area or the jump lagoon can negotiate a schedule ahead of time and a lottery won't be necessary. That makes it easier because we certainly would like to have our tournaments, the same weekend. We just get there and it's a third weekend or it's a first weekend if we can kind of make that a routine. But, if there's conflict, a lottery solves a problem. Two, we have two tournaments that we have jump involved. And we would like to reserve the jump and the slalom course on the same weekend. So that's just, something that we need to consider. And the third one is when we are slaloming, we would like to have the back area as well. Because when we're doing having a slalom tournament, if we have boats negotiating to go into the very back area, we have to stop the tournament for a period of time, and we're not going to get our the tournament done. Does that make sense?
That's in the policy.
That is.
Yeah,
Okay, so you get
we
the whole
wanted
thing.
that in the policy.
Perfect.
The policy gives the club the exclusive right to the whole North Lake.
The whole thing. I was
From
just
8 to 2, but at 2 o'clock, then it's open to everybody.
perfect. So I think, and all well done. Thank you.
Thank you. There's one more member comment, right?
Last is Chuck Moreno.
Chuck?
Chuck Moreno, 3846-330. I'm requesting or asking nicely that we add an extra Marine Patrol staff member. The reason I'm asking this is because I talk to Don Mottler at Marine Patrol Captain quite often. He says he doesn't have staff to cover the times, like for example, in the morning. There's nobody that comes on till about 8:30. And I'm reporting illegal watercraft being launched in the North Ski area. I've been in many confrontations, none physical yet, but people get very angry when I call them out. You know, they live in Menifee and they're launching their 2 kayaks over here. And they also have electric motors on them. And it's not one incident. It's many, many, many. It's unbelievable. It's just, I know that the patrol is a little stretched out, and it's hard to get good people. I would volunteer to be Marine Patrol on a volunteer basis if you guys need it. I do it for free or a penny an hour. I just want to help with the situation. I would volunteer my time. That being said, I'm asking nicely, please add a Marine Patrol, an extra Marine Patrol. Talk to Don first, and he'll let you know the information. But he tells me he needs an additional shift to cover the times. Because a lot of times people are launching early in the mornings and stuff. Secondly, I know I got a couple minutes here. We need to address the issue of if you're a non-member bringing a boat into the water, into the lake. I see it many times to where somebody comes in the guest lane. They've got a kayak, canoe, fishing boat, catamaran, and they basically get a free pass to come right through. Now I went out to get serviced recently and I forgot to get my white tag. Guess what happened? I come in the lake and guess who gets red tagged? The member right here. I don't think that's kind of fair, the way that things are being treated there. I've been there in real time. I've seen it with my very own eyes. I have lots of pictures. But it's something that might need to be addressed, especially with the summer season coming. But I appreciate your volunteer time, and listening to the meeting tonight. It sounds like there's a lot of good direction. You guys changed a lot of stuff, and you know, thank you very much. I appreciate all of you.
I have a clarifying. I'd like to clarify something just
Yeah.
to make certain. With 1 second left. When you said that people from Menifee with their kayaks, so they're driving into Canyon Lake, so that someone invited them in, or are they coming down?
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Oh, they're invited in?
I showed up. I fish from the shore sometimes in the morning. It's kind of like my little deal I do before work. Kind of keeps me sane. I watched this guy launch, and I just noticed he had no decals on his canoe, or excuse me, his kayak. And I said to him, "Oh, you don't have any decals?" He said, "Oh, it's a new canoe or kayak." And he parked his truck, and I couldn't see if he had a guest pass or if he was a member. So I went on to my fishing business. He took off. When he left, I went over to his truck, and he had a guest pass. So I looked him up and on his Facebook, and him and his friend are posing on our launch ramp with their kayaks, you know, like they own the place. So it was really weird. Karma pays you back. All of a sudden, apparently he forgot something. He shows back up at the launch ramp, and I said, "Hey, you don't live here." And he got very angry, and he wanted to fight. He was mad that he can't fish here. And he told me he can fish here, and he can come and launch his kayak here. And I said, "You live in Menifee, dude." And so at that point, I had already called Marine Patrol, and I already called Road Patrol. So it was a real tough situation. Neither one could do anything until he came out of the water. So, and then that timing is always critical too. So, I had great video of it, but I accidentally deleted it. So,
Thank you so much for sharing that. I didn't know that.
thank you.
Because that is a boat. A kayak, by definition, is a boat.
Kayaks, fishing vessels, their
Yeah.
canoes. Yeah, I can show you a lot of pictures.
All right.
And just for the record, Chuck Moreno is member number 1, and Art Femister is member number 2. Okay, thank you.
All right. No other member comments? All right. Board comments? Any board comments?
Well, I guess my question would be maybe, I guess, Eric, what is allowed and isn't allowed from outside? I mean, we can't bring a real boat, so they can bring a kayak. What? I can't hear you. Put your. Okay, so, but I mean, a 21-foot pontoon / speedboat can't come in from
Absolutely
a
not.
visitor. Okay,
Right.
so our gate people are not allowing that. If it ever occurred, I can't imagine.
Right.
So what is occurring perhaps though is a kayak or some other smaller vessel / something without a motor or something. Is that what it is?
Right, but we have a registration program for those boats, and unless you have a decal, those aren't allowed. in
So we're not
Canyon
saying it didn't happen, Chuck. I mean,
What?
we're not saying Chuck didn't see what he didn't see, so it might have slipped through the
I don't know.
cracks. So we need to talk to our patrol.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other board comments on the approval of North Lake and Jump Lagoon use policy? Any other comments? All right. All in favor of approving the North Lake and Jump Lagoon policy, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
All right. Next one, ooh, mine. Change in golf rates for unaccompanied guests. Let me just turn to the page. All right, so in the spirit of member priority and having members with their guest a priority, I would like to slightly increase the fee to play on the golf course to prevailing rates for unaccompanied guests. After speaking with our golf professional, we think this will help with weekend golf cart congestion, and if you've been out there, you know what I'm talking about, and allow better tee times for members and members with their guests. So the proposed rate change raise the green fee primetime 18-hole rates for unaccompanied guests to the prevailing rates in our area. The rate increase proposed is $53 for weekdays, currently $43 across or any day. So it would be increasing at $10 on the weekday and then increasing it to $83 on the weekend for unaccompanied guests. And the current guest pay is $43. The revenue increase fiscal impact, it is not much. That's not the reason behind this. It is about members and their guests having priority on the golf course and to help with congestion. So with that, you can see the addition of the rates on the page. Again, it's during the weekdays, it'll only go up slightly, $10, but on the weekends when there's the most congestion to $83. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Is there a second? Second. All right, is there any member comments about this?
1, Joe Commission.
Oh, I saw someone else.
Joe Commission, I forgot. What? But you have it on record.
3716 124.
3716 123. Yeah, thank you. First of all, I've been at meetings here in the back and I've always had trouble hearing, and I have a hearing problem anyway, but the POA has come a long way with everything they've done in the community, and maybe one of the things, tasks your board might want to take on is to look at a better audio system for meetings. Not. I know we have new lighting and we have theater equipment in here, but I don't know if the people in the back or if everybody has a problem, but clarity of voice is an issue. So you might want to think about putting that as one of your tasks. But in regards to this matter, these prices do not include a golf cart. Is that correct? So the golf rate on the weekdays and the weekends is $43. You're charging a $10 fee for a weekday golfer without their member with them. You're charging them $40 or $83 more, and I don't understand the justification for that. So
Yeah, that we worked with, actually not even worked, but looked to Pat, and he did research on other golf courses in this area, comparable golf courses, and the prevailing rates. So that's where that rate came from.
I understand that, but is that something we might want to do incrementally over a period of time? Because this is, to me, a big jump. And it doesn't seem like, and you say the revenue is negligible. So other than, I don't want to say punishing or penalizing, but those that come in without their member, we can do it at $20 increase on the weekends. So just food for thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. One thing, and because the second time I golfed this year, and again, I averaged maybe 2, it might be 3 this year, and my tee time was 12:30. And when I got there, there was a gentleman everyone was scrambling for golf carts. There were times where our golf marshals were not even on the course because Pat understandably was feeling for the people and like they're waiting for their tee time and let them use the cart, which I understand, especially when you have people who are upset. But one of the gentlemen walked by, he's like, my God, I've been waiting for an hour. And he didn't know me and I don't even know him. And I said, for what? And he said, a golf cart. My tee time was an hour ago. So the ultimate goal of this, and even the change in the membership policy or for a sanctioned club, is to help with that congestion. But certainly the board can consider what you said, and I appreciate your comments. All right, any other comments? That was it? All right, so member comments? We don't have
No member card, if you,
there's none out there?
I'm not sure.
Well, can you sit down, hit the button?
Mike Barafato, 3779018. The question I have is, what do we mean by unoccupied guests? I'm relatively new to the golf, so that means that I can call in a friend of mine and not golf with them?
No, what that means is there's quite a few people who do this where their buddies like, hey, I want to golf on your golf course. Okay, so they call or they set up a tee time. They're not playing with them, but their friends just want to come and play on the golf course.
All right,
So you're not there. So, and I also said that if the member's there, and that's the whole thing, like I would much rather have you and your 3 guests be able to enjoy the course before I allow my nephew and his 3 best friends to go hang out on our golf course. So it's about member priority, members with their guests versus just, oh, sure, I'll let you go. You know, I work out with this guy and I'm going to let him go play on the golf course.
So
At the same rates.
so I can call in 4 friends to play on the golf course and I don't have to be there?
No, you would need to be there.
The member has to be there with the foursome, right?
Right now, you do not have to be there. You can call in 4 guests. Unlike fishing, where you have to be there, or the pool on the golf course, a member does not need to be present for their guests to play golf.
Then if you do that, is the member responsible for the unoccupied guests for anything if they do the golf course?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Then the member that called him in is responsible for if anything happens with the unoccupied members on the golf course.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So just to make, so I make clear, I can call in 4 friends that can play golf on our golf course and I do not have to be there. I just have to pay the additional rate.
That's how it's been set up. So what we're doing now is we're increasing the rates, and ultimately what we're hoping is that members will choose to play golf with their guests, one, or the price might deter them from playing on our course and they may go to another course. Because the other concern is when your guests, same with the beaches too, or anywhere, but when the guests are just there and you're inviting anyone in, we don't know if they're going to take care of the course. If you're with them, knowing that you pay for the golf course, you're going to make sure that they're not, hopefully, you're going to make sure that they're not horsing around, doing Brodies, driving up on the putting green. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, comments from the directors?
Yeah, so this is Brian Awareness Night. I guess I'm wondering, when did this happen, that we allow this? Because we, for years, didn't allow this. Then we started a program to sell memberships to outsiders, which was successful and ongoing. So Mary, Eric, or somebody can answer, like, when did we say, I don't have a lot of people that say, hey, I want to go golf at your course without you. So when did we, like, I go with people. So when did we do this, which is like none of the above?
There's never been a rule requiring your
Really?
guest to play
Wow.
accompanied by you on our golf course.
Okay.
And there's a fine balance, and there always has been since history of the golf course, of
Okay.
what's more important, revenue or privacy or
Okay, this was-
members first. And it's a very large subsidy. And when guests play here, That's additional revenue to lower the subsidy,
I'm not-
which
I'm
is
not
a
challenging
desirable thing here, and it's always been a balance. And so there has
Wow.
never been a rule requiring you to accompany your guests here.
So the funny
This
thing,
is a step in the right direction.
yeah,
If you have a concern about
Yeah,
that,
we could-
raising the cost of that, which may deter some of those people.
because I remember controversy of just the outside program. Like, well, how dare you? We're going to allow people from Menifee, and we're allowing, I mean, honestly, at this point, if you go there, you see people from Los Angeles, from San Diego coming, paying a lot of, I mean, I don't think they're coming as guests of anybody. They're members or whatever they are outsider. But anyway, just in terms of rates, this is not, I mean, our rates are incredibly low. We're not Journey. I mean, if you know Pachengo, we're not quite as nice, but you're talking less than half the price. And what you're finding in Golf World is like $100, $200 for decent, mediocre courses in Orange County, San Diego. And so for good, I mean, it's good that people come here. They hopefully eat dinner or breakfast or lunch. But in the end of the day, I wouldn't, this number is a good number and Patrick recommends it. Now, as to the whole accompanied, unaccompanied, well, that's another day, I guess, because we'll walk before we run, but I have to think about that one.
And again, just to reiterate, if you are with your guests, even if it's you and your 7 friends, so obviously you're not all together, but you're back-to-back foursomes, it's the normal rate. Okay. Any other comments or questions from the board? Great.
I hear Joe, and one of the things we may want to consider is reducing it a little bit to maybe $70 or something like that, just to make it an incremental step, just a thought and consideration. I hear your point on the recommendation from Pat, but it is it's a $40 jump, almost doubling the fee so just a thought.
But research was done. It is in line with other courses around.
All right. Are you ready for a vote? All right. All in favor of changing the fee schedule, golf rates for unaccompanied guests, or actually adding that? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
All right. Thank you. Next one. Ooh, this one's mine too. Revised rule GC 9.1 annual members advanced tee time reservation. I'm excited about this one. I know, and you would think I golf, right? But this goes back to member priority. How things are currently is that if you are an annual golf member, so you pay for your unlimited golf, you can get a 10-day advanced tee time. Everyone else, including non-resident annual members, and we appreciate them and the money they pay, it's a 7-day advanced tee time. This rule addresses that, and what we're looking, or what I'm requesting that the board to consider is that we change the rule to annual members reservations for starting times may be made up to 14 days in advance. So again, if you're an annual unlimited member, it's a 14-day advanced tee time beginning at 6:45 a.m. daily for the resident members with annual membership. All other members, which include anyone, I always call myself a commoner, so a commoner golfer like myself, may make a reservation 10 days in advance. Non-resident annual members may make a reservation 7 days in advance, which is what they're currently doing. So it's no change to them, but it's allowing members to be in line ahead of any other non-resident, even if they're an annual golf member, to try to get the better tee time. What? All right, so do I have a motion to approve? It's a 28-day reading to revise rule GC 9.1.
Motion?
Second. Oh, let Tim go.
Any member comments?
I don't want to neglect him.
No.
All right, any board comments? Excellent. All in favor of approving the 28-day reading to revise rule GC 9.1, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
Okay. And we're moving on to 7.9, which is to revise an app-based call-in policy. And this was by Director Cook. And you want me to read it? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the background, it has come to Tim's attention, and I'm sure many other people too, that app-based delivery services have possibly been misusing the current system. Tim believes for the security of our members, a change is needed to remove the current policy. It is recommended that the Board of Directors approve to eliminate the policy regarding access for app-based transportation. So the policy, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but in a nutshell, as it'll come up, is if you order from Uber Eats, Grubhub, any Instacart, all of those type of app-based services, that they do not have to, as a member, you do not need to call them in. The challenge with that is it's starting to become abused by the individuals who are the drivers. And there's been some examples, and I'll just use the personal one for me, is I got notice on Dwelling Live, and if you don't use Dwelling Live yet, I highly recommend you do, because you get notified when someone comes in the gate. And it was Instacart, and I have not ordered from Instacart ever since I lived here. And I called Corey right away. And what was fascinating is the Instacart driver, he watched the video, Corey was kind enough to watch the video, said my name and gave my address and entered the community. So whether or not he could have entered a fake order, so it appears on his phone. So our community patrol guard is doing the proper thing by checking it. He verified it, but the whole order was a lie and just to gain access to our community. So that's my personal experience. I know there's a lot of other ones that we've heard from individuals, and it's really important for this board and certainly Tim for bringing this up and wanting to change this policy, actually to completely remove this policy. So therefore, if this is approved, if you order from any of those, Instacart, et cetera, you order for anything, you want anyone to come into the gate, you need to call them in, or preferably use Dwelling Live because it's much faster and you get notified when someone comes in the gate. So that's the premise behind it. So is there a motion to revise the app-based call-in policy?
So moved. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Is there any comments from the members?
One.
All right,
Joe Commission?
excellent. I know, you should have ran again. It's better.
I just miss speaking at these meetings.
Want the gal?
No, actually, having been on the board up and through May, I've been involved in some of these discussions and whatnot, so I do have some thoughts that I want to share. So the alternate plan to rescinding the policy is just going back to the way it was and let the homeowner be responsible for that driver that comes in the community, and then the homeowner has absolutely no control over what that driver does, but he's totally responsible for it. And that's what the board is asking our members to do. Take that responsibility for a stranger to come in and make a delivery. This policy that's in place now may not be perfect, but it takes that responsibility and burden away from the member, which is, I think, ultimately what we wanted to do, because there were abuses that the member had no control over. When I invite my family or a guest over and they do something that's a violation, I accept that responsibility. But when I call in a delivery and I have no control over what that fella does, I'm still responsible. And I think when we developed this policy, it was because they wanted to relieve the burden of the members of that extended responsibility, which I totally understand. I'm not in favor of removing that policy. I think it's maybe 80 or 90% effective. Maybe we can address other ways we can look at those problems and try to treat them separately. A driver that is going to try to work the system, we've got people every day, I'm sure, that work the system to get into Canyon Lake. So I just like the board to think really long and hard about rescinding that policy, because I think it's I haven't heard anything that really would convince me to remove that policy. And I think it's effective for protecting our members. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Just quickly, I'm not commenting again. Joe, one clarification though, is the actual policy that's current, and I never read it closely enough to be honest, so I just assumed anyway, the delivery driver would not be issued a pass. This is current. A one-time entry will be recorded against the member's property. That's already. So it's gonna be the same thing. So right now, even though the guy didn't get a pass, when he comes to your house, because he delivered to you, you're still responsible. Because it says right here, record against the responsive member's property. So it actually is different than perhaps even contemplated when it was amended. At least the way I read it.
I don't think,
It says right here. I mean, I'm reading from the current that we're getting rid of.
but those speeding tickets and violations from the driver, I don't believe go back to the homeowner.
An entry will be recorded against the responsible member's property.
Okay.
Responsible.
I'm going to have Corey come up to address
I'm
that.
not gonna argue it. I'm just saying, that's the way I read it.
Yeah, so Brian is correct. The policy was that instead of the member having to call them in, they just showed up and showed their device, but the member was still responsible. We still recorded that entry against the member's property. So yes, that is correct.
Thank you, Corey. Any other member comments? Did you have a comment, Tim? Okay. Any other member comments?
Actually, I do have a member.
Oh.
I was really speaking to him. So I had the same concern as Joe. Getting rid of a policy sometimes is the right thing, but it's also sometimes worse if you don't have another policy to fix it. So interestingly enough, seeing that, I don't have the same concern because now, ironically, we're going back to, the funny part is my wife's not necessarily watching, but we've been calling in app-based things ever since because no one told us we shouldn't. And so ironically, we've had even like tow trucks stop and go, we need to get a pass. I'm like, really? They can't even let a tow truck in? That's good, I guess. Bottom line is, all we're saying now is everybody needs to call in, and the word call in isn't like the old days. You can just app it in and then put in like Uber Bob. The issue that has happened and that will continue to happen, and the peril of speaking in public is someone sees and hears, oh, that's a great idea, is they take Joe's Instacart, snapshot it, and can even change the date or whatever. But bottom line is we've had people driving around our community, fishing in our community. Where's Chuck? Fishing in our community and other things like that. You know, they put a bathing suit in the back of their Uber and they say, oh, I was here to take, or, you know, whatever. And literally there's been some fraud in this. So what this does is avoids our security officer going, wait a minute, is that a real order or fake order, you know? And bottom line is it brings it back to what was probably working pretty well before, but then all of a sudden, you know, we decided to change it or some, you know. So, and Tim, you've had a lot of experience because there's been some problems with this personally, like people signing in with him and so forth.
Yeah, and I'll add just a couple other ones that have happened to individuals. Is there was a teen who didn't want his parents to know that he was ordering from Grubhub or Uber Eats, so entered his neighbor's address at about 10:30 at night. So now Grubhub's coming through with the notification. She gets it, like, who the heck's coming in? Grubhub pulls up, the teen from the other house comes out and grabs his food and goes back in. So those are some of the things that if it was a call-in, wouldn't necessarily be able to do that. And then the other thing that came up in discussion, and Tim, you know, was saying at the end of the day, we pay to be in a gated community. So when we're allowing people just to come in, that can be a problem. And I'm not going to go into some of the things that Brian brought up, but there could be potentially some serious liability if the wrong person came in under Instacart or Grubhub and did harm to an individual. So we're just trying to protect the community and then also protect ourselves International, which is a community with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? All right.
Can I make one comment regarding the effective date?
Yes. Oh, thank you.
One thing that staff is requesting, instead of making this policy change effective immediately, to give us time to communicate out to the community, that we make this policy effective June 20th. So that's about a week and a half, so that our communications team can prepare some information, get it out, so that the community is aware and has ample time to adjust.
Thank you, Corey. Appreciate you bringing that up. All right, with that, I'm going to call for a vote to revise app-based call-in policy to remove it, and the effective date of that would be June 20th. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
All right, thank you, Harmony. And we're going to move to the last one. This is 7.10, approval for CIP funding for the Country Club Patio Shade Project by Steve Schneider. Hello, sir.
Hello. So good evening. The Country Club patio overlooks a beautiful Canyon Lake golf course. During the hot months of the year, the patio needs shade for our guests relaxing to a great meal and drinks. In the past, we've used umbrellas. However, they are hard to move around. They're blown over by the wind and have a high replacement upkeep value. We propose to install a metal frame shade structure with retractable fabric common among restaurants to provide shade on the patio. This will extend the outdoor seating season, keeping us from having to shut down the patio and lose revenue it generates during fierce hot and midsummer sun. This will also increase our seating capacity in the shade for weddings and events. Fiscal impact is $41,537.50 for the shade structure, installation, and engineered drawings. $3,000 for a permit plus a 5% contingency from the Capital Improvement Fund. Staff requests the Board of Directors approve the funding of $44,537.50 plus the 5% contingency from the CIP Fund 05670.
Thank you, Steve. Is there a motion to approve the funding?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any member comments about this specifically? Excellent. Any board comments, questions? Alrighty, then we'll move to the vote. All in favor of approving capital improvement funding for the Country Club Patio Shade Project and the amount specified by Steve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
Motion carried. Excellent. All right. Thank you, Steve. I'm excited about that. Okay, we're going to move on to member comments for non-personal issues. You'll have 3 minutes with my timer. Are there any other member comments?
Yes, 2. Rita Benlin.
Rita, are you good for what you spoke earlier? All right, great. Thank you. And next?
All right, Rachel Buffington.
Rachel?
Hi, Rachel Buffington, 3846159. I don't know if this is going to be like personal, but I just was trying to get like more security at the lodge. I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm not sure who's all aware of the incident that happened to my son, who is a minor who was coming out of work from the lodge on Saturday, May 28th. It was Memorial Weekend. But a 30-year-old man assaulted my minor son when exiting the lodge. He was harassing him and accusing him of stealing his phone. And he followed my son all the way to the roundabout. My son got scared and started walking back. The man pushed my son up against the wall and physically assaulted him, stealing his wallet, breaking his keys and his iPhone. My son didn't know what to do. It all happened so fast. He was banging on the window, just trying to get help. I'm saying this because I just want more security presence, and more police, especially on the holiday weekends. I don't know why security wasn't there. No one was there to help him. He had to bang on the window and wait for all the employees to come out.
And this incident also prompted one of the female bartenders to quit her job. She said, if this could happen to him, this could happen to me when I'm here. And it breaks my heart because it's true. I am definitely pressing charges, but I just don't understand why the security wasn't there. My goal today is just to make sure this doesn't happen again. My poor teenager went back to work last week. And when another coworker touched his shoulder from behind, he jumped because he was scared. And it just breaks my heart. I agree with you guys talking about the holiday fine earlier, but this should never happen to a minor or an employee.
Rachel, on behalf of the board, on the POA, we're certainly sorry for this. It should never happen. Assault of anyone, any employee, let alone a minor, is unacceptable, and will be addressed and evaluated to the fullest extent. But we apologize, and certainly for to you and your son, and we'll certainly address the issue.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I know that took a lot, so I appreciate you coming up and sharing that with us. Yeah.
It might help to understand, we can't,
Yeah, we can't
what happened
comment.
was horrible. I hope and assume it was criminally, prosecuted as well. I don't want to talk to, employment issues, things like that. But what I want to say is that the board, I'm going to get it wrong, so I'll just say, but the board gets situations brought to them where we have members that have committed, not just that, I mean, obviously that was a horrible situation, extreme, and we have taken action and will take action. For example, removing someone's privileges to attend something, or B, for example, we've had people at the golf club, restaurant or something, they just can't go there for a year, whatever. So bottom line is, the POA can't prosecute, the POA can't, do things that you might be able to, but we have our own methods and we can do what we can. And I don't know about that situation. I know about it, but I don't know where we are with that. But please understand, we will do it wherever we can. In addition, tonight we voted on a security committee. So security can be the gates, security can be, God forbid, colossal events, but it's also situations like this. And situations like this spur from alcohol, from physical abuse of people who just can't act like, normal human beings or whatever. And frankly, I think that this is going to be a tall task for you, Bill, and others. But you're going to have a lot of things on your plate, but such as this, because it's kind of been somewhat of a theme of people abusing privileges and or abusing others, not every day, but especially events, and especially when there's alcohol and people doing horrible things. I don't know if alcohol was part of that or not. I'm sorry for what happened. I have my own children that I felt the same thing when you were speaking and when I read about it, and I wish you all the best. And I honestly take, people do things, they have to be responsible. And it's not just POA, meaning they have to be criminally prosecuted. They have to be whatever it takes. Restraining orders are another thing. So I know I'm going long on this, but bottom line is we can't erase what happened, but we certainly can prevent it from happening in the future.
And I'll just add to that. One of the things we cannot do specifically for anyone or to anyone is we can't let anyone know what member discipline is. So even though we don't talk about that openly, or, hey, this is what we did, this is who we cited, because what happened to your son was well known. I got a text right away from an individual. But know that we have over 220 cameras in our entire community, and more will be added certainly with the pump track going up. And I know our staff is 100% focused on working with RSO and making certain that we can do anything that, whatever is within our powers to help RSO and stop these things, but we will not be able to, fortunately or unfortunately, but comment about member discipline. But we're well aware of this, and again, so sorry. It's awful. Any other member comments?
No.
All right, now we're going to move to Eric. Normally it's a 40-minute meeting and you're caught off guard, so Eric gets to tell us all the fun stuff.
I'll keep it short. We actually have a lengthy meeting for a change. So I just want to say that Fiesta Hopper was a great success, and kudos to our operations staff and activity staff and communication staff and all of our hardworking team that make that possible. It was a very good time and a lot of hard work. Our year one paving project, we are in our final and 9th phase, started on Monday. Should wrap that up the end of next weekish, and project should be complete this month. I would characterize the project as an absolute success, and we've already started conversations with our pavement engineering contractor to start working on plans and specs for the second year, year 2, next year, the next group of streets that we're going to do. And we're going to do another large group of streets like we did this year, possibly more, and then followed by about 2 million a year after that. So we made a huge dent in our street repairs and rehabilitation this year, and we're going to continue the next couple of years plus. The Happy Camp restroom renovation is complete. There's a couple minor ADA things that came up at the last minute on our final inspection. You can see there's some yellow truncated domes for the blind, and inspector added those basically 2 days before we got our final. We're going to have a strip of those across the front in blue, and that and a couple minor punch list items, some landscaping, and that project should be complete. And it's been 37 years coming, and if you haven't seen it, it looks fantastic. And for all the people on Facebook said I could do that for 30 grand, we'd love to have you bid it next time. Please submit your qualifications to us. I've been a general contractor for 30 years, and I'd love to see you do it. So it was money well spent as far as we're concerned. The Roadrunner Park restroom, another project that's been 54 years in the making. The restroom is complete, and this Monday we started with we got our inspection application approved by EVMWD, and our crews and contractors started on Monday, cut up the street and trench to tie into the sewer and water that are up in the street on Gray Fox. That restroom has its own self-contained sewer lift station, which is basically a pumping station. Obviously, the restroom is the roof of the restroom is below the street. And so the entire restroom is below the sewer line that's in the street, which is why it's taken 54 years to build a restroom there, because plumbers will tell you that stuff doesn't flow uphill. So that restroom has its own pumping station, and that pumping station should be tied to the sewer system and water system and functioning this month. And we're thrilled to say that we're finally going to send a porta potty away forever after 54 years. The Indian Beach dock is now complete, and I have a pretty big announcement regarding Sierra Park North. We had a internal contest with staff, and conclusion that staff and this board have made is that Sierra Park North is a pretty long name. It's also a little confusing because we have Sierra Park itself across the street, and we have Sierra Park East, which is across from Sierra Park, the main Sierra Park. So we actually have, at the moment, 3 Sierra Parks. And so if you look on the screen, here we go. The new name for Sierra Park North, which we've called it that for probably 3 or 4 years, will be Vacation Park. It's short and simple. It's on Vacation Drive. We've already ordered the monument sign, so if you don't like it, sorry, it's too late. And I'm pretty sure that was Lynn that came up with that and won our little internal employee contest for the name. And I think it's brilliant and takes a little getting used to, but I think it's going to work, and it's simple and to the point, and tells you where you are. So from now on, we're going to try very hard to call this vacation park, and old habits are hard to break, but we're going to work on that. And then some other things, we talked about the rules, and like we said before, all of these rules and regulations and waivers, these are all still fluid. Depends on who our insurance carrier is going to be, what their requirements are. We're shopping the market. Everything is fluid and still up for discussion, but we're hoping to finalize all of that very soon. We have some plans, and they're subject to change, but you got a pretty good idea what we're going to be requiring tonight. I do appreciate whoever spoke. I don't know if she's still here about the crossing, and we have the same concerns. The community and FPC committee and recreation committee spent a lot of time several years ago, trying to pick the best location to put a pump track. And really, this was the best and only location. And that concern has been carried all the way through in the conversations. And I can tell you that we are ordering a system similar to what you currently see near the main gate between holes 2 and 3, the golf cart crossing that flashes at you. You push a button and it flashes. We will have that, a push button, turn the flashing lights on system, which people will see as they come down the hill going southbound, okay, back to towards the lodge area, causeway behind you, fire station behind you. If you're coming from the fire station towards the lodge, as you come down that hill, you will be notified that somebody pushed the button and they want to cross, and the lights will be flashing. And as of right now, there will be a crosswalk there, and the flashing lights are coming. So, and we're going to do, that is a concern, and we'll watch that. And if we need more warning devices, or we will pay attention to that. One thing I will say, and this happened kind of by accident, the storm drain design, as you leave Vacation Park, you drive, yeah, I know, what's up on the screen. You drive down the hill past the restroom, and you're going to come out onto Vacation Drive. The very last part of the pavement right before Vacation Drive, you'll notice that it's currently gravel. It's always going to stay gravel. We thought it was kind of silly, and we don't really like it, because we thought, well, why don't we just pave all the way through? But the more I drive over that, it's like turf block. It's a bio retention. It's for stormwater retention. If water runs down in a heavy storm down the asphalt, that last little bit of gravel is designed to catch the stormwater before it goes out into the street. And the more times I drive over, the more I think that that's going to be a nice deterrent to slow kids down as they come down the hill with brakes or no brakes before they get to Vacation. And so I think that will also be effective to slow people down. And we're going to do some new landscaping. There's some bushes there that we're going to cut down. We'll put our monument sign. We're going to make sure all the sight lines are good. And it is a concern, but we're also concerned, and we're going to do everything we can. See, where was I? Landscaping at Vacation Park is underway. Three shade structures are underway. The restroom is well underway, and really looking forward to opening that park. And I just want to welcome our 2 new board members, Bill and Greg, and thank them. And they're already both hard at work. And I want to thank all 5 of our board members for all of their hard work. And we're already off to a good start this year, and looking forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. Now we're going to move to board comments, and I'm going to start with Greg since he's been so silent. If he's
Can you
still
hear me?
around.
That's the question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, is there a way to turn it up?
Yes,
Can you-
but can you speak up a little, please?
Okay. Can you hear me? It's
Yes.
okay. Well, Eric, thank you for your welcome to Bill and I. It's very nice of you to do that. We are anxious to do a lot of things. I saw a lot of things get done tonight. It's very impressive. I'm happy to work with all the other board members. And I'm really looking for, although I don't know if you know, any of you know why I'm not there. I was kind of embarrassed not to attend my first open session meeting, but I returned from a trip to Europe a few days ago and came down with COVID. So that's why I'm not there. I wish I was, but I'll get better and we'll move onward and upward and have a great year. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And we'll go to our new member, Bill.
Thank you, Renee. Although I was unfortunately in Chicago during Fiesta Days for a family wedding, I from every resident that I've spoken with, I've heard rave reviews. And I want to thank the staff in particular for all of the, and the Fiesta Day committee for the Herculean amount of work they put into doing that. It takes so much effort to pull off a one-day, let alone a three-day event at 5 different locations. And they did a tremendous job. So for the community, we want to say thank you so much. What the community may not know is that the POA did hire 13 additional patrol officers for that event. And so security was improved. There were no arrests and it actually went off quite well. And I think there's a good message in there for all of us. I want to thank my fellow directors. I'm excited about the new Security Advisory Committee. I think that's, again, another step in the right direction. And I want to thank you for doing that. And then I guess the last thing is on last Saturday, we held a cybersecurity presentation at the Senior Center. There were additional copies left over. They were out there if anyone wants a copy. And again, thank you for the Senior Center for allowing us to just make people more aware of how to do a better job of staying protected in this information age.
Thank you, Bill. Tim?
So back to Fiesta Days again. It really did go off pretty smooth. A lot of nervous people I saw working the event. And but I really want to give an extra thanks to Lynn and her staff, Carrie Pratt, Tiffany Grant, Steve at Operations. You would not believe the amount of work these guys had to do and get it cleaned up and gone like it never happened. And I'm grateful to you. Once again, these guys everybody came through amazing and I appreciate it. It's good for our community. You know, when the next day it doesn't look like anything ever happened, it's just amazing that they can pull this together. So we do have some shortages on committees. I love Facebook because everybody complains about everything. I encourage everyone to join a committee, get involved and active in the community. So with that, yeah, we have, plus a new committee, so.
Thank you, Tim. Brian, do I need to set the timer?
Yep, 3 minutes. So 30 minutes. So I just want to welcome, frankly, our 2 new board members. And the great thing about new board members, they bring a new voice, they bring some new insight. Sometimes you say, well, it's going to be hard to, work together with, people we don't know. That has not happened. It's just been a seamless transition. I know you guys, thought it couldn't be done, but we have Jim here and Joe here tonight, and frankly, your leadership led to this now. Renee, amazing, thank you. We had a 5-0 vote on every single vote tonight, and I can't guarantee that for the rest of our future, but let's keep that bar high as possible. It's great when we all work together. We compromised and worked together, and that was great. Speaking of working together, I do want to thank very briefly. There was an amazing event. Among other amazing events that Canyon Lake Little League has put on this season, let alone the end of the season, and near and dear to many of our hearts, including Tim, I know from the cancer event that you had. Canyon Lake Little League helped a group called American Cancer Fighter, Eric Frega, our community member extraordinaire, who created this group to help first responders and veterans, families afflicted with cancer, essentially make a wish. You want to go to NASCAR, do something special before, God forbid. This is what it's about. A young man who I happen to know named Nate Bach, my son, had a need, and I mentioned this last time, to do what's called a mitzvah for his bar mitzvah and a mitzvah project, which is a good deed. So long story short is together they put their heads together and made this event hit, pitch, and run. It was great. Kids won prizes. Some of our friends and family, not my family, but other families, came in and won rings and special things and prizes. I just want to briefly mention, it couldn't have been pulled off without POA, but most important, Canyon Lake Little League. They gave us basically their carte blanche to do it on their premises, their time, so forth. Canyon Lake Insider and Friday Flyer instrumental in helping us both before, during, and after. And major sponsors, Canyon Lake Mobile, Sports Stop, Hanson McCoy, Patrick at the Golf Center gave us a great foursome, unaccompanied or accompanied, no, I'm just kidding. And yours truly, Proactive Legal, we contributed as well as many other people who donated. So that being said, American Cancer Fighter is one of the only, I don't know that many 501c3s that live and breathe in our community, but it's kind of new, and I think it needs, to get some more recognition. It's really powerful stuff if you talk to Eric and talk to people who've been involved with that. So on that note, I kind of, use this time sometimes for purposes that are truly POA, but in this case, it's POA / our community, including our own. Thank you.
I know there was one more
Sorry, one
comment
quick
by
go
Bill.
back, and I want to thank everyone for the warm welcome as a new board member. But I'm really proud to be part of this historic board with our first woman president. I think it's about damn time.
Have I always been a woman? We don't just. Poor husband. Thank you, Bill. My poor husband. All right, I'm going to reiterate what was said about Fiesta Day and our amazing staff, and also the Fiesta Day committee who ran short on committee members the entire time. To our activities team, Carrie, Tiffany, and Sierra, and also to our, what do we call them? David and Tiffany. Communications team, but it's more than communications. The work that went into it to give to everyone, it is amazing and detailed, and I'm in awe. And I was out and about early that morning, and I saw Tiffany and Sierra, someone else too, but they were driving golf carts at the golf club let us borrow. At 6:20 in the morning, they started incredibly early. All the cones were already up. Operations crushed it. So I'd like to thank everyone involved, and I know it was probably everyone, almost everyone, if not everyone in the POA. It was absolutely fantastic. And then just a shout out to Family Matters Club, a club that's not a sanctioned club, and I say that because you don't have to be a sanctioned club to do great things in our community, and they are all about doing great things for the families and for the community. So I appreciate and thank them wholeheartedly for Club Rush, inviting all the clubs to be out there to give members the opportunity to learn more about ways they can get involved, have fun with other members, meet other members. So thank you so much for them, or to them, for that. And I know it's going late, so I'm going to end that. With that, we're going to take a short recess before we go into architectural appeals. I don't adjourn, do I? Do I recess?
No, you can recess.
Do I have to, I don't
And we do
to.
have the member here that
So
will.
we're going to do a short recess. Are you guys good with 5 minutes? So we'll be back, or 8:50 exactly. That's 6 minutes. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back in 6 minutes. All right, it's a little bit past 8:50, so we're going to go ahead and start. Harmony, we're going to go ahead and start. Rita, we're going to go ahead and start, so I need Harmony. Thank you. Thanks, Rita. I'm going to wait for Tim to come back. All right, we're going to move on to architectural appeals. And this is Alfred and Patricia Johnson. I'm assuming the only two left in the crowd.
Yes.
What? You're not Alfred? Oh, okay. What? Sorry.
All right.
Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
No problem. So yes, we do have one member appeal. It's going to be for Patricia Johnson. She's appealing the ACC denial for a Aluma wood patio cover located actually in the side rear setback. I do want to make one correction in that where it says CC&R violation, that was a wrong insert. On the second page, it basically tells you what the correct insert should be. It's the PC 3.1C side setback, and also CC&R side, section 7, size and placement of residents and structures. So what had happened was, hold on a second here. Member had been approved for a pool, spa, concrete decking, and fence on October 7th. And upon inspection of the pool for sign off, the inspector noticed a non-permitted patio cover located in the rear and the side setback, which is considered a CC&R violation. Due to the violation, the pool was not signed off. And then on April 19th, the Johnsons submitted an application to replace the Aluma wood patio cover and concrete, which they had already done. On April 28th, the committee had to deny the application due to it being a 5-foot side setback CC&R violation. So the committee did meet, and they actually their conditions were support posts must be 5 feet from the property lines and the cover to be 2.5 feet from the property lines. And so the conclusion from the committee was staff did research the member's record and found the home approved September of 1987, and the pool, of course, was approved in October of 2021. There was no permit for a patio cover. The member states that he built the wood patio and has now installed a new Aluma wood patio cover to replace the old wood one. So if we can go ahead and go to the diagrams, we can show you that the first diagram is their submitted plan where it shows you where the patio cover is. I did some research, and on Rivco, you're able to go back a certain amount of years just to see whether or not something existed. And the very first one on that second slide, you can see that the patio cover had been there, and that is in 2012. So we know the patio cover has been there for quite some time. So normally what would happen is everything on the exterior of the property has to be permitted by the POA, ACC committee. And the member did replace this patio cover with a new Aluma wood patio cover. So there's two issues here. One, it was non-permitted, and unfortunately it is in the setback. Now, if we can stay at that picture right there, Lynn, where the arrow is pointing in that direction this way, that is not their property line. So there's only 2 posts that are actually in the setback, and that is going to be on the right side of the property. If you see those 2 posts right there, that one and that one, those are the 2 that are actually in the setback. The other 2 are fine. So because of that, and because it is a CC&R to keep nothing in that 5-foot setback, the committee was unable to approve it. Now, the second problem is that a variance was never paid for that Aluma wood patio cover. Because of the material that it is, and it's a CC&R violation, all patio covers that are Aluma wood would have to have that variance as well. So those are the 2 case issues that we have right now. So I'm going to go ahead and let Ms. Johnson speak. Oh, by the way, I want to say that the pool is absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I love it, especially when it's hot. Yes, Mike's a little intimidating. So, but for all the same reasons that you're building a patio shade cover at the golf course is the same reason that we need it in our backyard. Originally, out of our own ignorance, we've lived in the lake for 38 years. Loved it, raised our kids, followed all the right rules, but they need shade. And it was really the only area in our yard that we could put shade where the kids could play and go and sit and, have a picnic or whatever. Now our grandkids are doing the same thing. So out of our own ignorance, we didn't realize that replacing the old one with a new Aluma wood, we needed a permit. And we'll gladly pay the variance fees, but we need a shade area. And now since we have the pool, there is absolutely no place in the backyard where we can move that cover besides it's down a foot in concrete in those first, stationary areas. So basically, what we're asking is to please, we'll gladly pay the variance fees, permit fees, whatever we neglected to pay, but that we could leave the shade cover there because there is absolutely nowhere where we can move that cover and have shade in the backyard.
All right, thank you so much for sharing that. Members, do you have any questions? Or members, gosh, Joy.
I do have a picture of the pool in the backyard where you can see.
I think we're looking at it right here. I'll let you ask Cheryl. She knows.
There's nowhere.
So I do have a question.
All right.
Did you use, am I okay? Oh, did you use like, we built a pool, so I don't know about a covered shade or whatever, but the person we hired, did you use a company that does Canyon Lake or was it just?
It was actually a company that I don't even think they exist anymore. They did come from outside of Canyon Lake. I think they were down in Marietta or Wildomar.
I know, but a lot of, okay. I mean,
So,
I'm not excusing what happened, but bottom line is this should have been anytime, even if it's something that was there before and now you redid it, you're redoing it. It's as if it never existed. And so a permanent structure like this.
I mean,
it's
hindsight's
pretty
always 20/20.
straightforward.
I wish we would have known.
I'm just saying, permanent structure like this, any reputable contractor is going to say, you live in Canyon Lake, you need to get a permit, but you also need to get, do it correctly. And it's not correct.
Yeah, they didn't ever ask us about a permit. In fact, we actually recommended them to friends who had patio covers built, and they never asked them about a permit either. And so that's why we didn't realize that, it was really a problem.
Well, I mean, they also know they shouldn't be building on the setback or into the setback. And I'm sorry it happened to you, but it's your responsibility. So that's the problem.
I have a question for Cheryl. So it was originally, when it was originally built, you were the owners when you originally built it?
Yeah, we've been in the house.
Okay, and there was no permit at that time, so it was unpermitted. Okay.
Yes, that's correct. So
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
in
I
our
heard that
files, we
correct. They didn't
show-
buy the home that was already there and then assume it was okay.
No.
Okay.
And so,
Well, the home was already there. I mean, we're the first owners, but, okay, yeah, right. Correct.
So Patty, I certainly understand having built a pool and all that. So, and recognizing the shade or the heat in our area, totally understand the need for shade, especially with a pool.
Yeah, especially when it's 103 in the summer.
Yeah, well, here it comes. I mean, this week it's warm enough. So I certainly understand, empathize. A couple of questions for you. This says that the patio structure actually goes over the property line, goes over your neighbors?
No, it's
Fence
right
line?
on, we have a block wall fence, and it's actually on our property line. It's not hanging over a neighbor. In fact, one of my neighbors, the one that is actually behind us, where they see it, they were actually going to try and come tonight, and it's never been a problem. Our neighbors have come. They've enjoyed the patio cover when we've had parties and get-togethers out there, and but yeah, nothing infringes past our property line.
And I can see you built it kind of at a triangle in that back corner. It's nice little patio structure or patio seating area you got there. What would prevent you from coming further over closer to the pool with into the grass there, the turf area or something? The cost of redoing it.
A lot of expense. I mean, it would have to be dug out. Like I said, those two front pillars are a foot in concrete. I mean, they're solid. So
The issue is cost.
Well, it is, and just, I mean, just the look of it, I mean, it was built around, you know, the patio, concrete. So we just really like to leave it and pay whatever we need to pay to get it left.
The neat thing about, you know, me being the board liaison for ACC is I see these things every week. And, you know, part of the permit process lets people know what you can and cannot do before you are approved. Had you got this permit before, you would have known that this structure would have had to come out and
Right.
follow the right procedure.
I agree.
Ultimately, you know, it is your responsibility to do the permits and everything. I mean, I feel bad for the situation. I actually was at your house when we did a look at this.
Mm-hmm.
It is beautiful, but I can't bend a CCNR or anything. You know, we don't have the authority there to do that. And, you know, just in good faith, I don't see how there's much that we could do.
Well, be compassionate. I mean, like I said, we've always followed the rules. It was, I mean, our ignorance because we didn't realize it and we weren't asked for it. You know, and I apologize for that. But I know driving through the lake, there are numerous patio covers, and I would venture to bet probably 10% of them were permitted. And that's not an excuse. It's just, we live in a very hot area and we need shade.
I don't think anyone disagrees with you on that part, that we all need shade. Any other questions from the board?
I would like to make a point if I could.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're not asking them to remove it. All we're and it doesn't need to be, the roof itself does not need to be changed at all, except that the part that does extend more than 2.5 feet into the property line, toward the property line, and there is a portion that is extending over the wall that you see in the background. We're only asking that 2 posts be moved to meet the CCNRs. It may seem simple, but the roof does not need to be changed in that it's just the overhang. But it is something that structurally could be done and bring it up to the CCNR restrictions.
So you're saying the overhang roof can be over the setback?
No, it cannot. Actually, it's a building code violation also. But this is aluminum and it can be cut and brought back to within the property line. Without the whole thing being taken down, that's correct. Yeah, and obviously the cost of doing that is not something that's, and it should be entered into the decision. So
I have a quick question for you, Ms. Johnson. Did you happen to get a permit through the city with this?
For the pool?
No, for the patio cover.
No.
Because there is an ordinance that there has to be 10 feet of free, if you want to call it, of structure between 2 homes, and that's where part of this as well. When the CCNRs were established, we kind of adopted those side setbacks because they were something that the city and the county at the time, you know, made sure that they had a 10-foot easement between structures, that no structure would be placed in that 10-foot, which is 5 foot on your side and 5 foot on your neighbor's side. And so something like this would not have been approved by the city either.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
I do
Did you
have
hear
one
what
question.
You guys got to hear what Cheryl said? Okay.
I have one other little point. Ultimately, unfortunately, it's not the responsibility of the contractor to get the permit. It's the member, the homeowner, unfortunately.
And well, like I said, if we would have been asked about a permit, we would have gladly gotten it. But when these plans were submitted to the POA and then to the city, it showed that patio on the plans.
It did not show it on there.
Okay, I'll have to look at our plans because
You
they were
can be more than
duplicates.
happy to come to the office tomorrow and we can look at that, but it was not named or it was not stated as an existing structure. That's the first
But-
thing I looked at.
But it was drawn on the plans? Like that?
No.
Only the cement pad was on the plans as existing. So would have had to been on the front of the application that a patio cover was going to be installed and also drawn in on the plan over that pad.
Okay, because I know we took care of the POA and then our pool contractor took care of the city, so.
Even the prior patio cover, whatever, if it was bad or good or whatever, it's gone. And so it starts over again. No different than if you had another pool there and you took that pool out and put a nice new pool in. And I hate to say it, but you got permit, you got all the rules followed, I assume, for the pool, which looks fairly new. So it would have been like pool, patio. I mean, there's kind of a implicit, I mean, it's explicit in our rules, but it's implicit that you would check to say, this is a major structure, I need to make sure of it. I mean, you know, we all have our things. I mean, I had a batting cage, it's not even permanent, and I had to go through weeks and months of back and forth to get a permit to do that from the POA. Because I looked it up and I said, oh, wow, I need to get a permit to have that. And I've had it ever since. So I hate to be that, but it's like, I mean, you did the pool. The good news is, right, the pool's kosher, right? So, I mean, I hate to say that the solution from what I'm hearing is not horrible. It may not be exactly what you want. Now, I don't know if we vote on a solution or do we vote on just remove, you know, whatever. Okay.
You would actually have to send them back to the committee.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Well, then, I mean, I have another question too, because, I mean, we have two umbrellas on the left-hand side in that cement area, and they have ended up in the pool several times, even when they've been down. So we had thought, oh, well, let's put up a patio cover here, but then we wouldn't be able to there either, then because it would be, there's not 5 feet area that before it would be literally into the pool.
When the committee went out there, they did look at it and they felt that there was a way to move those 2 posts to make it outside of that setback area. So that's what they're trying to say, is that the cement and the patio overhead, the cover itself is fine. It's just the 2 posts that needs to be relocated.
So it's the 2 back posts, is what you're saying?
It's actually the side, the right side. So if you're looking from your backyard to your backyard from your home, it's going to be this side. So Lynn, could you do me a favor and put, yes. That one and that one.
Okay, that front one, that's the one that's cemented down into.
We understand.
Way down there.
And the committee was just trying to make it as easy for the member to bring it into code.
Any other questions for the board? Okay. First of all, thank you for all the time that you spend twice a week or more for you specifically, and also being willing to work with the members and give alternative solutions versus we'll tear it all down and do it over again. So I appreciate all the insight that you give because I know nothing about construction. So thank you for that, unlike Tim who does. So I'm going to ask the board, I'm going to ask for the vote on upholding. I guess, Harmony, is a proper way to phrase it is that the board has to decide if they want to uphold the ACC's decision. I just want to make sure I phrase it correctly.
Yes, you can approve it. There's a recommendation on here. You can read it. Recommend that the board of directors uphold the ACC decision to deny the member's request.
Okay, and do I have to have a motion for that?
Yes.
Okay, so can I get a motion before we go to vote on the staff recommendation that the board of Directors uphold the ACC committee decision and deny members' request the patio cover to be relocated or moved. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is anyone opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
All right, thank you.
Can I oppose it?
No. But they have some great ideas. Oop. Wow, they have some great ideas. So I appreciate that.
So before we end, if I may, the first thing you'll have to do is to come back to the committee and hopefully come up with a solution that is feasible for you before you do the work. Okay.
Well, and based on what you said, I would even contact the city because
Yes, I would contact the city to make sure it does not need to be permitted.
we approve it on our end and then they can come in a year later and go, you're not within our setback, and then you have to redo it again. So that would be my biggest concern financially for you, for the city.
So what was it that you said had to be 2.5 feet?
Yes, the committee would be happy to come out there and meet with you on the property on a Thursday morning if you want to set it up with planning and compliance.
So that back post
Yeah.
only has to be 2.5 feet off the
Yeah.
property line?
Yes,
Posts have to be 5
gladly
feet.
show you.
What was that?
The posts have to be 5 feet. The overhang can be 2 feet, 2.5 feet.
Well, what was it that
So-
was 2.5 feet?
So with that, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask that that conversation continue with our ACC team and committee and people who know things, and also Tim as a liaison who knows things. I don't. And they'll be able to, and as it was suggested, set up a time for them to come out so they can go ahead and give you the suggestions. But I strongly, personally, just encourage you to also contact the city because we only look at what we want, or we are in our CCNR rules. And I'd hate for you, again, to redo it to fit our CCNR and then code enforcement drive by, or someone calls code enforcement a new neighbor and they come out and realize that you have an unpermitted structure. That I would just absolutely hate for that to happen.
So I don't have the option of just paying a variance then?
The variance is a separate ordeal. That's for the patio cover, and we can explain that to you when you come into the office and when you meet with the committee.
All right, with that, do I have a motion to, special note for all of those listening, our next meeting is July 11th. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 End of meeting.